Oh, you know what I love?
Sports.
Love sports.
Sports. When
It comes to
Texas A&M.
Where are you getting this information?
Let me tell you.
Welcome to TexAgs.
TexAgs Live.
I feel like I should be listening to the theme song from the Jeffersons. You know, we're moving on up.
We will develop men, we will graduate players, and we will win championships on the field.
The best way for us to win is to do it together.
He is a guy that has gotten better and better and better. He's just got that dog in him.
It's been special. The 12th man this past week was unbelievable.
And this is a real program. It's not fake. This is a real place. And if you want to be really good at football, this is a really good place to be.
You know, if I'm betting on anybody, it's the Aggies.
Look, I'm going to start with a positive note.
Okay.
Because, look, we were worked up a minute ago talking Aggie basketball and some stuff about baseball, but positive. How about that weekend from first, Aggie women's tennis?
Yeah.
Came back to beat Texas.
Texas, yeah.
Yeah, love that.
Nice job.
Softball, what do they do this weekend?
Well, they swept Florida State.
Yeah, and Florida A&M. Like, what a weekend.
Yeah.
What a freaking weekend for those programs. And, you know, we have some great stuff happening in track and field. But we semi-begin, because I already started, with Aggie basketball.
Yeah.
I mean, this is, we knew this was going to be the toughest part of the season.
It was going to be a tough game.
We knew that. It isn't that, losing to Tennessee, one of the top teams in the country, I get it.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's the combination of things, OB. It's looking at Mississippi State and how that got out of hand. Looking at what's still ahead. Vandy this week. Then you've got Florida. You've got Auburn. Like,
I think it's the way you lost to Tennessee.
you mean shooting all those threes?
Yeah, shooting 33s. And I think the resident genius, Matthew Dawson, was pointing out that they've never won when I think he said this, maybe I got this wrong. And if I did, I'm sorry, but whenever they shoot 33s, they've lost. And, 5 of 30, and Wade Taylor, of all people, going 0 for 9 from three-point range, you just don't expect that. So
No, you don't expect that. Look.
And with all that you're going to, with about a minute and a half to go, you're probably going to be within 1 point, at the most 2, if you don't have an offensive basket interference.
Oh, but I'm not mad at him for that interference. You can't make that mistake at the end, but like hustle plays don't upset me. What I think is beyond the threes is their stars showed up and A&M's didn't in this game.
Yeah, so, especially Chaz Lanier.
30.
Who had 30 points.
Yep.
And then
a quiet second half, but not really.
And then Zakai Ziegler.
He had that big block at the end and hit the three.
But you know what? It's easy to point to the three-point shooting, and that's definitely a huge, maybe the number one issue. And then they were hitting threes at an alarming rate, especially Chaz Lanier. But there, in the last 8 minutes, if my notes were correct, in the last 8 minutes, when A&M, after A&M had a 51-48 lead, Tennessee made 7 of 11 field goal attempts, and I think 5 of those were three-pointers, and made 10 of 11 free throws. So A&M could not stop them. And sometimes when they did miss, they got the rebound.
In the last 4-19, I think they went 4 for 4 from 3, 8 of 8 from the free throw line.
So A&M couldn't get a stop. No. And look, is erratic three-point shooting, is that commonplace for A&M? Yes.
Yeah.
But usually the Aggies compensate with offensive rebounds, They out-rebound them, had like 14 offensive rebounds. They compensate with free throws.
Yep.
They got to the free throw line 20 times, made 18. They shot great at the free throw line. And then they usually compensate with really good defense. And they didn't have it when they needed it.
No, they didn't have it. Where A&M for most of the season has been spectacular at the end of games. A couple games in a row, they've allowed to get away.
Yeah, and like I said, losing at Mississippi State, there's not a real shame in that. I mean, you go there expecting to win, but Mississippi State's a good team. I know they lost this weekend. They're a good team at home, playing hard, and that's going to happen sometimes. Losing to Tennessee, no shame in losing to Tennessee. It's just the way in which you did it that's so frustrating.
Yeah, it's the way, and because we've seen this story before. Shoot too many threes, miss too many threes, lose. By the way, I'll choose a positive. Anderson Garcia, positive.
Yeah, he's playing really well.
He is playing well, but they couldn't get stops, and they couldn't score down the stretch. And your best player, who I still have a lot of faith in, we've seen Wade Taylor's a couple weeks ago hit a game winner.
He still scored 18 points.
Yeah. But their best players played better than A&M's best players.
Again, go back to the three-pointer. So many of them were just wide open looks that you just didn't make. And, you can talk about all the different statistics and all the different, how many scores per possession and and some of the more obscure statistics that it's still going to almost always come down,
Did you make the bucket or not?
Did you make the basket or not?
Yeah. Look, this is who they are. I'm not saying the loss is who they are or Wade going 0 for 9. What I'm saying is this is their formula this year. Buzz knows that team better than we do, and he feels that this is how they have to go beat teams with the talent that they have assembled, right?
And let's not forget, they've won a lot of big games.
Heck yeah, they have. But in this game, I'm not even going to Mississippi State. In this game, I thought they shot too many threes. And I've thought that many times. To be honest with you, if you're not necessarily really good at something, don't do it.
Well, I think that, or at least not to that volume. I think Buzz in the post game was saying, "Look, he didn't have a big problem with taking the shot because that was the shot, that was the right shot to take based on whatever was going on the floor defensively. Maybe they're backing off, but then you have to ask yourself, why are they backing off?
Exactly right.
But they're backing off because they don't believe that Texas A&M can beat them at the 3-point line.
So, if you were coaching a team about to play A&M, wouldn't you borrow that same philosophy?
Yeah, until you prove that you can beat me. It's like if you have an erratic quarterback in football. You just stack the line and say, "Yeah, we're going to dare you to pass." Because if that guy is a good enough quarterback to beat us, so be it. But we don't think he is.
Exactly.
And then every now and then you get a Peyton Thorne.
Yeah.
Which
Peyton?
Well, you stack, not going to run us. But anyway, I would think that's how everybody's going to play A&M for the rest of the season. Hey, if you can.
And there's going to be games. By the way, if Wade goes 2 of 9.
If you back off on Wade, I'll even say, look, I don't know if he's going to take 9 3-pointers. He's not going to go 0 of 9 again. If you back off on Wade, the next game he may go 7 of 9.
Right.
He's a really good basketball player that had a bad day.
I don't have a problem with Wade taking 7 to 8 3-pointers a game. What I don't like, and I know it works often, is the out of the blue threes. And that's for anybody. Outside of Steph Curry, I don't like just 3.
Yeah.
I don't personally like that, but Wade has more of a green light than, he's got the green light on that team. If I were just to say, hey, why don't we just more in the flow of the offense kind of 3 but I also recognize that is part of their philosophy. Get the ball down low, off the rebound, put it back up. I get it.
I think Anderson Garcia led you with 3-pointers. He had 2 of them.
They were early.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, okay, if Wade hits 2 of 9,
they probably win because the game kind of got. I know it was an 8-point deficit,
but it changed. Yeah, the last minute it changes. Yeah. I think if he hits 2, which isn't that much to ask for or to expect from Wade Taylor.
No. In fact, if you tell me in any game Wade's going to shoot 9 threes and will he make 2 or more? I would say I would take that bet 100 out of 100 times. Now, one time I'm going to lose.
Yeah, and that was Saturday.
That was against Tennessee.
Yeah. Look, disappointing loss, disappointing week for Aggie basketball.
Yeah.
Right? You have your worst loss in a year. You follow that up with a loss that I don't know if you should have had is the right word. Because I don't know if this was a game that had back and forth leads and A&M started hot, Tennessee didn't, Tennessee countered, A&M can't but disappointing the way it ended considering what we've seen from them at the end of games for the most part this season. That's usually when they're at their best. And then also, you have to look ahead. Well, darn it, Vandy's coming here.
Yeah, and they're
Florida, Auburn.
Yeah. If you don't beat Vandy, there's a very good chance you're going to fall into a 5-game losing streak. Mm-hmm. You play Vandy Wednesday night, and then you go to Florida on the road against a team that's going to force you to shoot outside.
Yep.
And then Auburn. Now, I'm not saying you can't beat any of those teams. You can beat all of them.
Yep.
But I'm just looking at those are winning on the road against what's now a top 5 team, and then beating the number 1 team in the country. Those are some tall tasks in front of you.
Yeah,
need to beat Vandy.
So 12 minutes in, and I should mention A&M baseball. The 35-game non-conference winning streak comes to an end as Cal Poly wins in the 9th yesterday, 3-2. Disappointing weekend.
Yeah,
from the vibes, just the vibes.
Yeah, I went to that game too.
Oh.
Now, hey, don't forget, your main goal is to
win the series.
Is to win the series.
They did that,
and they did that. And I thought they were going to sweep. I was surprised that, that they were only able to get 2 runs. And then you go into that 9th inning, and you're up 2-0, and I thought, okay, just close it out. And the new kid, Fresh Corn, had done so well earlier, but. They got him for a home run, and then there was a big error that led to a run. And I thought Caden Kent, I think it was Caden, was going to throw out a guy at home plate, but the guy just beat it.
Yep. 11 errors through 6 games.
Yeah, that's something you got to get figured out. It's cold weather, it's early. Those are things that maybe you're going to go 11 games without an error at all, but. That's just.
Am I reading this correctly? 0 for their last 19. Whew.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if Coach Earley is going to do any juggling with the lineup in the not too distant future.
I wouldn't be surprised if he juggles. I wouldn't say wholesale changes, but just juggling, just to see. And another big one coming up this week with Texas State, the midweek game. So. We'll break that all down. This is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. This is the Go Hour, presented by the warehouse at CC Creations, and this little area.
Yeah, this particular area.
So the entire area is the Rollo Insurance Studio.
This is like our version of the paint.
This is the paint, where I like to see buckets.
Yes.
And this is the holistic
planning cool zone
with buckets.
With buckets.
What do they do in holistic planning?
They can probably help you earn buckets of cash through investments. Maybe help you get buckets of cash coming home on their taxes.
Hope so.
In about 6 weeks or so. And then buckets of cash for your estate. And part of the way you could get those buckets is going through investing in pro sports.
And then your team can maybe make some buckets as you're getting the buckets of cash, OB.
I would hope so, yeah. I hope my team starts making a lot more buckets.
Investinprosports.com is the website. If you want to be a part of the conversation this morning, you can call us up on the Buppy's Catering hotline. That number, 979-693-1150. You can text that number as well. Let's go around the room and we say hi to the people. Behind the glass is Nick Savage. Nick, good morning, buddy.
Howdy, good morning, y'all.
What is up?
Well, y'all mentioned it off the top, but a real bright spot this weekend, Aggie softball. They go 5-0 on the weekend with 2 really, really impressive wins over Florida State. Number 8 Florida State, I might add, at their place. Walked them off in the not walked them off, but took them to extra innings in the first game and then run ruled them in the second game. And they took care of business against Florida A&M in southeastern Louisiana as well to cap off a perfect weekend again. And, man, Trisha Ford's squad's going to be a lot of fun to watch. 15-1 on the year, coming up on SEC play quick.
They're fun.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get out there and watch a game or two.
I
want to see this Mac Barbara.
Mac Barbara's great. She's fun to watch.
Yeah, I want to see her hit.
So my kids typically.
Sorry, they didn't run rule Florida State in that second game. They won 11-4. Close to a run rule. Didn't run rule them.
Blew them out. We can agree on blew them out.
My kids love, especially the girls, love watching Aggie basketball and Aggie baseball.
Uh-huh.
And during the rain delay on Saturday, Isla was watching the softball game, and she was getting into it. I don't think she had watched that much softball, and they were asking, Dad, did they win? They were down 3-1. Dad, did they come back and win? They did, and it's cool to have my kids getting on all Aggie sports.
Yeah. And again, they're all good right now, so it's easy to jump on the bandwagon. There's always room for that bandwagon.
Yeah.
Like I'm jumping on that softball bandwagon.
As you need to.
I want to see them play.
As you need to. Let's get some words of knowledge. Carter Adams is at the Angry Elephant.
Sounds like Carter.
Yeah, and by the way, we're going to be at the Angry Elephant in Cyprus. Saturday. 4 to 6.
Saturday in Cyprus.
4 to 6.
4 to 6.
Can you come join? Not you, Carter. I mean, you can come join us, but I want the people. People close to Cyprus, people even in Alaska. If you're
in Jersey Village, come on over.
If you're in, let's name a bunch of other neighborhoods that you can do.
If you're at that
Sugar Land? Sugar Land?
If you're at Brookshire or Royal, Katy, come on over.
The Heights.
The Heights.
Pearland.
Everywhere.
League City. Let's keep going. Come on, let's see how many you know.
Woodlands. Conroe, Montgomery.
Tomball.
Tom Jones. All of them.
Anyway.
Everybody. Enough tomfoolery.
Carter, take over, please.
So I've got some weekend tournament takeaways from that amazing softball weekend I'll get into. So Texas A&M outscored opponents 43-12. 60% of the Aggies' runs, that's 26 out of those 43, came with 2 outs. The pitching staff combined for 43 strikeouts in 34 innings, while Aggie hitters struck out just 16 times all weekend. And like Nick said, A&M is 15-1 for the second straight season, something last achieved in 2016 and 2017. So
15-1 with a pretty difficult schedule, and almost 16-0.
Yeah, the one it just got away from them. Golly, Oklahoma State.
So we got in women's tennis, number 6 A&M erases an 0-3 deficit to defeat Texas 4-3 in the SEC opener at the Texas Tennis Center. Some early struggles for A&M as they dropped the doubles point and fell behind 0-3 in singles early on. However, number 90, Mia Kupres puts the Aggies on the board with a 6-3 and another 6-3 win over number 124, Esther Miri. Number 55, Luciana Perez, fought 2 tiebreakers to level the match at 3-3, and Daria Smenikov completed a historic comeback, defeating number 25, Carmen Herrera, 6-4, 1-6, and 6-4 for her team-high 21st win. This is the second win over Texas in 15 days, this time without the number 3 ranked in the country, Mary Stoyana, and Jeanette Myles. So looking ahead, the Aggies return home to face Arkansas on February 28th.
Go back to that one line. Second time to be who in how many days?
Second time they won over TU in 15 days. So that's a bright spot this
Let me
weekend.
just say, when we get so disappointed, which I get extremely disappointed when we lose to them in anything, right? Mm-hmm. We need to celebrate that as well. Same energy.
Absolutely. How would you celebrate?
High-fiving Mark Weaver when I see him.
There you go.
Big old hug.
Yeah.
You kiss him on the cheek?
No, I wouldn't do that.
Okay, just checking. Like, they do that in, like, Europe?
Yeah, I'm not European.
It's true. Anything else?
Yeah, we've got women's golf as well. Number 17 A&M women's golf is set to compete at the Chevron Collegiate at the Golf Club of Houston.
In Humble.
Yep, in February.
Humble can come too.
Humble can come to the Angry Elephant in Cyprus.
We've got them all. That's February 24th through the 25th. A little bit of a tournament preview. The Aggies are coming off a 5th place finish at the Moon Golf Invitational to open the spring season. Freshman Vanessa Borovilos led the team in the event, finishing tied 10th individually. And head coach Gerard Chadwell is fielding the same 5-player lineup as last tournament. So there's a couple SEC rivals in there, number 1 Arkansas, as well as number 12 Mississippi State. Some other notable teams are in Texas are number 16 TCU and number 21 Houston. We've got 16 teams competing, so it'll be a fun couple days in February for women's golf. To hopefully,
we had Garrett in studio last week. It was fun to chat with him. Surprised you knew A-Leaf like that. That was good. Well played, sir.
I've been all over that place.
Yeah,
all over there.
I can see you.
Richmond.
Yeah.
All over.
Rosenberg,
Terry High School.
OB the OG,
Alvin.
David. Come on now.
Alvin.
Clear League.
Clear
League, yeah, that's a good
what's
place.
that, or something like
Clear
that.
Lake?
Texas City, Clear Lake's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, Alvin.
Nice
Chipmunks.
job. Gulfport.
Isn't that
nice.
Mississippi?
Yeah,
Texas City.
Texas City.
Galveston, all the way down there. Everybody come see us at the Angry Elephant.
Can we do two things?
Okay.
Can we do a Saturday at the Angry Elephant?
Yeah.
And a Thursday or a Friday?
Yeah.
You could do a Saturday, too, if you want to do a double dipper at...
The Angry Elephant? No, at a place where you go and never be angry.
1775.
Even though you might want to eat like an elephant, 1775. They don't have any barbecue elephant there, but they got some great pork and they got some great
Would you try
beef.
elephant if it was an option?
Probably tastes like chicken, doesn't everything?
Pretty much, yeah. For frogs.
Never had frog. That's not true. I have had frog, but not at 1775. At 1775, you can get that succulent brisket, that amazing sausage with cheese and jalapeno, and of course the pork ribs and the queso mac and cheese. If you want something else, they do have the pulled pork. They got pork bellies, I believe, and they got
desserts. They got it all, buddy.
The turkey.
Oh, qué rico tal turkey, no?
See?
Yeah. It's 1775. They're open Thursday through Saturday, 11 a.m. until they're sold out. Online ordering turns off at 10 a.m. 1775txbbq.com. Call them up. 979-492-6241.
What's up, TexAgs? This commercial break is brought to you by my good friends over at Aggieland Chevrolet, the official automotive sponsor of TexAgs.com and me, Billy Liucci. Greg Gunn is the proud owner of Aggieland Chevrolet and invites you to visit the dealership to experience true Aggie hospitality. From their friendly staff to the experienced service team, Aggieland Chevrolet is TexAgs approved. Check out the dealership off of Highway 6 in Bryan or go to AggielandChevrolet.com and tell them Billy Liucci sent you by.
And we are back. It is TexAgs Live. We are presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We are in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. OB, it's a Monday. Our show is pretty typical. Do you know what we have?
Tell me.
Okay.
Because I forget from day to day. Get them all mixed up.
9 a.m.
9 a.m.
Michael Earley.
Okay.
Okay. Ryan Brauninger.
All right.
10 a.m. Buzz
Billy?
Williams. Billy Liucci.
Buzz and Billy.
We'll have Tom Hart at 9:35 as well. So busy show.
Yeah. A lot of people are going to be excited to hear.
Yeah, I heart those guys. Yeah, close to my heart.
Okay.
That's for the threat that's about to pop up. Anyway, let's stay with the Aggie basketball game because you mentioned it. Tennessee, I don't want to say forced, but they're one of the best at forcing teams to their weaknesses. And we all know, and they're really good at making
They're the number one defense in the country.
Yeah, and they're all very good at making teams shoot bad threes. Now, as Buzz said, some of those threes were there.
Yeah. I mean, some of them were wide open.
But they hold teams to 28% shooting, which, by the way, I think, what is it? Carter, look it up. What does A&M shoot in three-point wise for the season? Do you know what it is on the top of your head, OB?
Off the top of my head, no, but I could probably tell you in less than 10 seconds.
Well, because if that's what they do, which is third best nationally, by the way, Tennessee holding teams to 28.2% from three is third best nationally. But if you...
30.6%.
Okay. If they make 30.6% of their threes in this game, I don't know if that's enough to win the game.
Oh, I do. I think they win it going away if they make if A&M makes 30.6%.
Think? What were they?
They shot 17%.
Oh yeah. They go winning. Yeah, sorry.
They shot 30. If you make 30%,
I was thinking
9.
30. Yeah, 30%. Yeah. They but when a team like to me, okay, I'm gonna try to get a team to do what I want them to do. When I'm the other team, I take that as an insult. No, I do what I want to do. But I do think A&M does want to shoot threes.
They typically shoot, I think typically, I don't know this, maybe I'm wrong on this, but it seems like they shoot 20 plus a game. Around that. They now typically don't shoot 30. It's typically, I mean, there've been some games where they've only shot, seems like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
But, there's been several where they've shot 30, but, probably around 20 a game.
Currently, not really major tournament implications from the week.
No, I think I'll be interested to see the next time there's a bracketology out. And
I think yesterday we're still a 3 seed last I looked, yeah.
So, look, A&M's in the tournament. We all know that. That's not even an issue. So now it's just an issue of seeding. And they're knocking on the door of maybe of a 2 seed. And if you could have won some big games, who knows how.
Right.
But now you're probably hanging around 3, but can you hold on to that and not drop into a 4, that kind of thing?
Yeah. Look, let's play the if game. People hate the if game when it's an if in a positive direction. But if you're going to do an if, you got to look at several scenarios. There's a scenario, as you said in the first segment, it could be a 5-game losing streak, right?
If you don't beat Vanderbilt, then you got a road game to Florida and number 1 Auburn.
But if...
Tall task. But if you win those...
kind of back to where you are right now. Like,
yeah, I mean, those are enormous wins.
If you go to Florida and win, that negates the loss to Tennessee, right?
Yeah.
Right? Again, these are ifs that I'm not saying I'm predicting these ifs, but we got to talk about scenarios. There's a scenario you go 1 and 2, right? You beat Vandy, lose those hard games. There's a scenario out there. There's a possibility. If you do that, you probably drop to a 4 seed.
I think that's very possible. And then you start looking at, well, could you drop as far as a 5? And historically, the 5-12 matchup, I think, is where most of the upsets occur. So, I mean, doesn't mean that you'll lose, but do you ever want to get into that place? Because usually that 5-12 matchup is kind of dicey.
I said this to you after the Mississippi State game. I wouldn't be surprised if Wade Taylor has one of these bounce-back games. I'm going to say it again. This team plays with a lot. I mean, I'm not going to forget everything that I love about this team because they have a 2-game losing streak against a couple of ranked teams, right? One top 5 team, the best defense in the country. So I would not be surprised if Wade puts on a show against Vandy. I would not be surprised at all.
Nothing Wade does surprises me, especially when it's something positive. He's a great player. He had a miserable shooting night from 3-point range. Now, he almost compensated by getting to the line so often. He was 10 of 12 at the free throw line, and usually that's a sign that A&M is going to win.
Agreed.
They did not get it done on the defensive end when it mattered the most.
And Tennessee got it done, not only offensively, they got it done defensively.
Yeah. But
which is what you don't expect Tennessee to hit threes like that.
I don't know. I don't see them play that often. But I did know it got to the point where I'm like, why is Chaz Lanier open? How many does he have to hit before you say, put Solo on him and say, just make sure he doesn't get the ball? But he kept breaking open and kept making them.
Tennessee
did a lot better job on him in the second half till the last 8 minutes or so.
Tennessee is middle of the pack in the SEC at hitting threes, 34.7%.
Well, they shoot about 45% in that game.
A&M is last in the SEC at shooting threes at 30.6.
30-6.
The team that shoots the most threes in college in the SEC is Alabama.
Yeah.
A&M is not in the top 10 at shooting threes attempts, okay? They are 12th. They shoot 22.6.
Yeah.
I think that's
around 20 a game.
I would prefer, but I know in today's college, today's basketball, threes are so much part of the fabric of what a team does in both the pro level and the college level. I would prefer like an 18 to 21-ish range if I were coaching a team that wasn't very good at threes.
If you're making them.
But they're not that much. They're literally they're at 22.6. It's in a lot of the losses where you see the amount of.
Tennessee almost shot 50% from 3-point. They made 13 of 27. If they make one more, it's 50%. And that's outrageous.
Yeah.
That would be like shooting 65% from the field, from 2-point range.
By the way, if you're wondering, I think, OB, you might be wondering.
Okay.
Auburn shoots 36% from the three. Okay. They're the best team in basketball, so I get it. And Vandy shoots 33% from three. And if you're wondering what the Florida Gators do, they are 35% from three.
Good, not great. I mean, really good. 33% is definitely acceptable. That's equivalent of 50% from the 2-point line or 2-point range. All right. Look, I know what to try to clean up their own mess, do a better job making your shots, do a better job on defense late in the game, and try to keep somebody from Florida or Auburn or Vanderbilt from just going, unconscious like Chaz Lanier was.
Milliken Reserve Time, they're a farm-to-table community in College Station. They got homes, they got trails, they got farms. They've got wide open spaces, and they have a mission to build a healthy community around nature. They have 2,600 acres of open space. They have 30 miles of trails and beautiful homes. They want to connect families to nature and to each other, and they're committed to maintaining and restoring that awesome natural habitat. They have a variety of native species that make their homes there in those preserved woods. We're talking white-tailed deer, songbirds, rabbits, and turtles. You can go hiking there, biking, canoeing, kayaking, equestrian trails. They have evening yoga. They've got summer camps, music festivals, farmers markets, and farm tours. And they are just a great place to go connect with family, with nature, and with each other. The website is millikenreserve.com. That website, millikenreserve.com. Drifting away here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio, the Go Hour presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations, David Nuño, Olin Buchanan. Monday, February 24th.
24th.
2025.
It's almost over.
No, we got a ways. But it does feel fast.
Like 4 days.
Oh, you mean the week?
I mean the month.
The month. Oh, yeah. Yeah. Well said.
Boy, the time goes by so fast.
It does. And people were listening, like the young kids in the studio, like, whatever, dude. But the older you get, the faster it gets.
It's like once you go over the hill, you just keep picking up speed.
What is considered over the hill in today's world? Is it 50 still, or is it 40?
I don't know. No, definitely not 40. No, maybe 60 now.
60's over the hill?
Yeah, probably.
I think doesn't over the hill basically means half your life is over? So, I mean, 60 would be great.
Half your life
120?
is over. Yeah, I don't think. Yeah, then I'm way over the hill.
You gotta go. You got 130 on you. I see it.
Yeah.
Cleaned up your diet. You're hitting the gym.
Right now, I'm just hoping for 64.
All right, let's go to I don't know how to respond to that. Let's go to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Carter. I don't know why I said it. Carter, like Carter. Please read a text or two. What are the people thinking?
Gotcha. So our good buddy Tap in College Station is talking about A&M basketball, saying, Tennessee attacked our defense better than anyone I've seen this year. Our defense was always chasing. Tennessee made not just one extra pass. They would make 2 to 3 extra passes and reverse the ball.
They did do that very well.
Ziegler will make you chase him, too. He's a really fast, he's a water bug out there.
He's good. And look, I know people say this about Wade. I'm ready for Ziegler to move on. I feel like we've seen him play 98 times.
Yeah, it seems like that guy.
Like, seriously, he played against AC Law. It's time to graduate, bro.
Seems like he's been there forever. He must be a doctor.
Carter.
We've got Calvin 1 in the TexAgs chat. UT suckered Ags into shooting 33s after going 4 for 15 in the first half for 27%. They came back and shot another 15 attempts in the second, hitting one single three that cost them the game Saturday and will cause an early round exit in the tourney. Buzz does not recruit pure shooters. UT is proof teams can shoot threes and play defense. Ags have too much ISO play.
So I'm not saying I disagree with a lot of what he's saying, but I don't think tell me if you agree with this. 3-point shooter specialists typically aren't defensive stoppers. I'm not saying they're not out there. I feel like my voice got really loud there. I apologize. But typically, there's a reason certain players play because you've got to be a two-way player. Right? Do you disagree with me?
I don't know. I don't know. I was trying to think who's the best 3-point shooter I've seen as an Aggie, since I've been covering them. And I guess I go all the way back to Elston Turner. And I think, okay, well, what was he like or maybe Daniel House?
Daniel House, yeah.
And I'm thinking, how were they as a defensive player? And I don't recall them being what I thought would think of them as defensive liabilities, but I don't ever necessarily thought of them as great defensive players either.
Well, look, typically an offensive scorer.
But I'm not saying you're wrong.
No, I know, but an offensive scorer is not always a defensive player. Kevin Durant became, when he played for the Warriors, I think he became a little bit more defensive sounded. But before that, I didn't ever think of him as a guy who played really good defense. You don't necessarily need your offensive go-to guys to be, but a specialist, right? Like in my day, watching the NBA, like a Del Curry or Steve Kerr, they weren't defensive guys. In college basketball today, people who are specialists, 3-point specialists, like CJ Wilcher.
Okay.
He doesn't play sometimes a lot more because I think Buzz sees him maybe, I'm assuming here, he's never told me this, maybe defensively he doesn't fit what they're trying to do.
I think that's fair.
And that's why a guy like Solo will play, and by the way, I think he should play a lot, and a guy like Manny plays more because I think the wingspan, the length, the defensive tenacity, sometimes a 3-point shooter doesn't play that type of defense. And on this team, you got to play D.
Yeah.
And you got to play good D.
And typically when they play really good defense, they win.
Yeah.
And, for the things that Tap Vance pointed out, they didn't in the last 8 minutes. Right? They didn't.
Yeah.
And so.
But didn't that game feel, even before the last 8 minutes, it was getting away from them?
Well, they were up 51-48. And at that 7:58
Yeah,
timeout.
8-minute mark. Yep.
And then, then it really got away from them. And yet, like I said, it was with 137 is when Wade Taylor had the layup waved off because of basket interference. And if you don't get the basket interference, it's a layup, and he's going through the line to shoot and one. And in that situation, I'm very confident in Wade. If at the worst, it's a 2-point game with a minute and a half to go.
Yeah.
Think about that. Through all the as hot as Chaz Lanier was,
That's a great perspective.
as cold as A&M was, and Wade at 3, you're that close to being a 1-point game with a minute and a half to go.
Yeah, I'm just so sick of that. It's just.
Well, we say we're sick of it. They've lost 7 games.
No, I'm just saying in my mind, like, this is an elite, this is a top 10 level basketball team. I'm just saying, I feel like often with football and basketball, we're like, God, if they make this play,
I saw somebody
make it.
And I didn't respond, but I wanted to, on our thread, the game thread, and he was saying, "Yeah, this is always going to happen. We're probably going to be 1 and out. You might as well stop watching now." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Look, it's okay to be disappointed and even upset about the way they played in a big game against Tennessee.
But we don't
it's
have
okay.
to overreact.
But don't take the whole season and say what you've seen over the."
Yep.
Look,
I do want to read this real quick before we hit a break, because I think we have to do Around Aggieland next. Is that next? Or maybe is that 9:50? I don't remember. We are complaining about threes, but BTTS. We are complaining about threes, but our 2 best shooters, Wade and Wilcher, combined for 1 of 13. Throw in Phelps, they were 2 of 20. So, and he went on to say some other stuff too.
Yeah, look, I might take my wife out on 10 great dates, and the 11th one, maybe it's not a good date, and so is she gonna just, take off now? Hey, Olin, you let me down one time, so I gotta go.
The 12th one too.
The 12th one. Well, okay, 2 times in a row. I mean, she hadn't let me go by now. She hadn't left by now. I guess she's staying.
No, we're not leaving. I'm not allowing the people to
I'm
leave.
just saying, look, it was a 1-possession game with a minute and a half to go.
And
you're saying against a team that may be a 1 seed, and some of us are like, oh, I can't, you know where this is going. Why even pay attention the rest of the year? Are you that fragile that you can't handle a loss? Or 2?
I think a lot of people are that fragile. Yeah, I do.
What are they, 20-7?
Hey, we got to hit a break.
20-7.
Well, we can talk about that on the other side. If you're looking for a reason to come back to Aggieland, or already in Aggieland, and you're looking for a great opportunity to help Aggies, you need to look and reach out to the Association of Former Students who are looking to hire professionals to join their team. They have openings in many departments throughout the years of marketing, fundraising, sales, communications, you name it. They're the premier alumni association and the oldest organization supporting the Aggie Network. They play a part in every Aggie story from Howdy to here. Don't miss opportunities to help out the association with Howdy Socials, Aggie Ring Day, class reunions, Aggie Muster, and everything in between. Join a team that exemplifies those Aggie core values of excellence, integrity, leadership, loyalty, respect, and selfless service, all in support of that worldwide Aggie Network. So if you're interested in joining the team or sharing with someone that would be a great fit, please visit tx.ag/association jobs to apply and get more information on each position. It is the Association of Former Students. Everyone, David Nuño here in a moment right now for Snaps Clothing. They are the makers of the only official licensed Texas A&M Pearl Snap shirts. I'm wearing it right now. This is part of their Tailgater collection. It's built for game day. My friend Edgar over there is doing great work. You've got to check out the clothing. It's the Pearl Snaps. It's the cool look. It's kind of hip, but also Western. You'll love it, and they have great stuff there. They'll keep you comfortable as you're repping your Aggie gear, and it's the place to go to get it. Whether you're watching the game from home or tailgating before watching the stands, these shirts have you covered. Head to snapsclothing.com. That is snapsclothing.com to gear up for the season. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Go Hour, presented by The Warehouse at CC Creations. We go back to the Angry Elephant News and Social Center. Carter, A&M baseball. What happened in the rankings with D1?
Oh, we're still number one. We love to see it. Take that loss, but number one still feels good. So that's definitely a positive.
Yeah, and there was a message you're going to read, or a stat you're going to read. I'm sorry.
So there's an interesting stat that we had Colton pick out for us. There has been 55 upsets by the number 12 seeds since the NCAA tournament expanded in 1985. Going into 2025, the lower seed was 55 and 101, equating to a 35.26 win percentage, meaning the 12th seed wins around 35% of the time. According to the lines.com, a 12th seed has beaten a 5 seed in all but 5 years since 2000. The 13th seed has upset the 4th seed 33 times since the NCAA expanded in 85. 13 seeds only have a 21.5% winning percentage with that 32 and 100 overall. So
stay out of the 5 seed.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, just go find a way to be the 2 seed. Calvin 1 says, Olin, disagree with you on your date comparison. 3-point shooting has been a problem over Buzz's entire career at A&M. This year, big time.
Yes, it is, and it has been. But that's not I'm talking about the end result. I don't care what the stats are as long as my team wins.
Yep.
And they've been able to win even when they've shot erratically from the 3-point line. That's what I'm saying. So don't just give up. Right. Don't be so fragile that you're going to quit because the team lost a couple of games.
He also adds Wade is 6 of 26 in threes over the last 3 games. Phelps is 2 of 14 over that period. Those two go 8 for 40, 20%. Won't get you many wins.
It's true.
Yeah. Opie, great job, buddy.
All right.
When we come back on TexAgs Live, Ryan Brauninger and Michael Earley. We'll chit-chat a little bit about Aggie Baseball Weekend and get Bronny's thoughts afterwards. It's TexAgs Live. Welcome back into TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. Hour number 2, Ryan Brauninger in studio. We'll talk a little baseball here for the next half hour. And now it's time for our weekly conversation with Michael Earley, brought to you by Duck Camp. At Duck Camp, we know the best moments happen out there and on a boat, on a casting line, or hauling in the catch of the day. Be sure to check out Duck Camp's newest spring hats, like the fan favorite crawfish hat and the redfish hat, and you can do that at duckcamp.com. We go to the Buppies Catering Hotline. We are joined by Michael Earley. Coach Earley, good morning, sir.
Good morning, guys. How you doing?
All right. So it's Monday morning, and just get your thoughts on the weekend itself. Winning 2 of 3, obviously the win streak coming to an end. That being said, you still won the series. Your thoughts on what happened over the course of the weekend?
Yeah, I thought we pitched the ball really, really well. I was pleased by that. Just offensively, not what we want to be, and while we won the series, it always changes your mood when you have a chance to sweep it and you don't get it done. But baseball's tough, but we just in the end got to be better. Love what we're doing on the mound. Just got to continue to. I believe in these guys a ton offensively, so there's no worry. I'm actually pretty excited just to get to work and get these guys right.
Coach, it was your first time to wake up after a loss as a head coach, so I know how competitive you are. How long did it take you to kind of turn the page from yesterday?
I had a different kind of swing of emotions. I kind of actually went to the grocery store after the game with my wife just to recenter myself and just be a normal human for 30 minutes. But it's tough. Like I've said before, I felt that same way as an assistant coach. It's like I'm not a huge gambler, so don't get me wrong. I haven't been to a casino in a long time, but it's like when you lose that first $100, that just gut punch in your stomach is what it feels like, but worse. But it was bound to happen, right? And never wanted it to happen, never planned on it happening because I thought we were going to win every single game. It's just my mindset, but just gotta grow and get better from it. And it was, we're not invincible, but no excuse. We got to take care of business, and we did.
Let's start with some of the positive. You mentioned the pitching, the starting pitching especially. We had a pretty good idea coming into the year what Ryan Brauninger and Justin Lampkin would be, but Miles Patton's been sensational over the course of his first 2 starts at A&M. I mean, when did you start feeling like he was going to be your third guy in your rotation, and then how has he kind of, cemented that fact over these first 2 weeks?
Yeah, I think from day one he was really, really good, even in the bullpen. You just kind of saw and that's why we recruited him. Big reason why we wanted him here. We thought he could fill a weekend role, and we thought the thought process was we really had to get him because we were losing Brauninger, and then getting Brauninger back just made it kind of like the icing on the cake. So he's been great. He's been great from day one. Moss has really pushed him and Lampkin coming into this, but they've done a really good job. But Miles has just been sensational, professional. He's a real similar personality to the other 2 starters. They all kind of have their own routine and do their thing. But he's gotten a lot better since he's been here. So he's locked in, man. He's a real deal, I think, and he did a phenomenal job yesterday once again.
I think one of the offensive bright spots, at least for me, is just kind of the steady progression of Jacob Galloway. And I think, he probably won that opening day spot because of how he'd been receiving and then what he could do functionally with the bat in his hands. But, man, he's got some thunder. He's shown a little poolside juice, and he was a north wind away from a grand slam yesterday that may have changed the game. Just your thoughts about Jacob the first couple of weekends.
Yeah, he's done a really nice job. Really nice job, not only catching, but just having good at-bats. And, you're right. He kind of how his swing plays. When he's on, he hits those low liners to the left, but he lofts the ball to the pull side pretty good. It's just not going to, it doesn't help you a ton early on in the year, but I think home runs aren't everything, but so you're going to see a guy who's not big in stature popping to you out just because his ability to pull the ball like that. But just all around good at bats, good leader, just a smart baseball player. But yeah, he's done an awesome job, and he's we're still gonna run some guys out there. But he's right there. I don't know if we'll ever have a guy, but it's too early on to say that, but it wouldn't surprise me, if he did that. But at the same time, I think the other 2 guys we got are pretty good too. So, but Jacob's doing an awesome job.
Michael Earley with us here on TexAgs Live. Coach Earley, defensive miscues were a theme, unfortunately, this weekend. What steps can you all take to fix that with, obviously, a midweek game coming up and then the series in Houston?
I mean, work is the number one thing. Like, this isn't something we're, not working on. Like, it's a constant daily work, and it's a balance of working on it and not making it a thing. Part of none of this is a skill issue, in my opinion. Maybe on some plays, but it's more of just you don't want to make a thing, and there's a balance between working on it and dwelling on it, so guys aren't dreading stuff. But just got to continue. I mean, I keep saying I got to continue to get better. I think certain guys are getting better, and then when one guy gets better, we're getting a miscue from someone else. So frustrating is not the word. I'm not sure what the word is, but again, we're gonna keep grinding, keep working, and we're gonna never stop trying to fix whatever mistakes we're making.
Coach, at any point yesterday when it was getting late, were you thinking about some off-the-bench decisions, maybe a Jamal George in a spot to provide some energy offensively in the batter's box?
Yeah, I mean, we just didn't get a chance to do it. I didn't necessarily know of a spot where I would hit him just with, just kind of the matchup where it was, but I just like his confidence. So if shot would have got on there in the last inning, I would have ran Jamal just because I trust him out there on the bases. But yeah, he's a guy that's definitely in the back of my mind, and he might start tomorrow. But it's a mixture too of like getting guys in, and also maybe hit one more lefty in the lineup yesterday than I like to. The day before that I'd like to, or maybe even tomorrow. But it's part of it too. It's like I need my left-handed hitters to be able to hit off left-handed pitching, and the only way they're going to be able to do that is to stay in there. So yeah, I mean, Jamal definitely, he's always in the back of my mind, and he's pushing to get in there, and I think you may see him tomorrow. I'm not sure yet.
And then you mentioned you got to see guys in tight scenarios, and you said that coming into the season, like you got to figure out what certain guys can do. Number 53 ain't running out of that bullpen anymore. Brad Rudis in a really tight spot comes in and does a great job to bridge the gap in the seventh and then a clean eighth. What was the discussion like to either go back to Brad in the ninth inning yesterday or run fresh corn out there?
I think both of our opinion is like we think fresh corn is that guy, whether it's high leverage or at the back of the game, and he was fresh and ready to go. And, Brad had pitched on Friday. Brad's still kind of building up, came in, did his job. We kind of planned out that scenario. Exactly how it played out. It's just we didn't finish like we intended on finishing. So I was happy with, I don't regret the decision to put fresh corn in. He's going to continue to pitch. The pitches they hit, they beat us yesterday in the last inning. They didn't beat us. They tied the game by just playing baseball. Like they got a base hit off 97 mile-an-hour fastball with 20 inches of induced vertical break. For those listening, that's like extremely hard to hit. And then the slider the guy hit out of the park, like that was them just being better in that moment. And then, we didn't give ourselves a chance by, the defensive miscues. But no, I don't regret taking Brad out at all. I think we planned it out exactly how we were, and then, we just didn't capitalize.
And then when you go back, and you mentioned in your postgame yesterday about kind of, swinging at balls in the strike zone, and you felt like maybe you guys, or it sounded like to me, you thought maybe y'all were a little too passive on some balls in the strike zone. Just kind of go over like what you thought of the swing decisions over the course of the entire weekend.
They were good. I mean, yesterday the swing decisions were fine. We didn't really have much decisions to make. The guy really filled it up, and we chased a couple, but you're going to get a little more chase on close pitches when the guy's consistently filling up the zone. So there's two parts to our offense. We're not just, I say take balls, swing at strikes. I don't want you just swinging at them. Like we got to do something with them, and we didn't. It's as simple as that. And I don't, I had a couple people say, well, the wind and Gallo's ball, like you said, which you're not incorrect and better, but in the end, the wind was the same for them too, and we didn't, we didn't get it done. And hitting's really hard, but for the most part, I mean, their team as a whole filled the zone up pretty good, and we didn't capitalize in those moments that we got to capitalize in, and there's nothing else you can blame, but I don't really, but yourselves, like your at bats and your mood and how you carry yourself during the game. Do you let early outs early on in the game affect your mental state for later in the game, and playing the whole game and getting back to playing pitch to pitch, at bat to at bat, and not carrying that stuff on? And that's something we're going to fix.
I thought your at-bats through the first 3 innings yesterday were as good consecutive at-bats as you've really, like maybe that Saturday game against Elon where you rattled off 16, like had some really good plate appearances then, but I thought the quality through the first 3 innings was really, really good yesterday. What changed? Because from my vantage point, I thought maybe just their guys' usage rate on the cutter changeup went way up, but I really liked what you guys were doing through the first 3, and you only had 2 runs to show for it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you're exactly correct. And then he went on a little bit of a run. I think it was 8 consecutive outs. Wasn't a ton of pitches thrown. I mean, guys are always free to swing at the first pitch and the first hitter of the inning, but you kind of see what it does to an inning when it's a lazy fly ball or an out. It's just like, imagine that pitcher's coming out and you got him on the ropes, and it's like it's okay. You're okay to swing at it. I'm completely fine. But it's like, if you're going to swing at the first pitch, like you need to do damage on it because it can really just kill an inning. Because, I don't care saying this I don't care if anyone knows this is baseball all over the country, but if you make a first pitch out, what's the next batter doing?
Got to take.
Every program in the country that you got to take, because you can't make 2 pitches on 2 outs. Well, we're making first pitch out and strike because the guy's filling it up, and then tough pitch down 0-2, maybe a ball, and it's just, it's one of those things. But I'm not going to get mad about it. I mean, I can't get mad about it when I get just as happy when we get a hit on it. So it's just like, it better be a pitch you can do damage on, or you're doing not only yourself a disservice, but you're doing the guy behind you a disservice. So.
Michael Earley with us here on TexAgs Live. Coach Earley, Wyatt Hensler continues to produce at the plate. I think he had 5 hits over this weekend. What has impressed you about his transition to the program?
Wyatt's just a dog, man. He is everything you could want as a coach. And that's just how he brings it every day, how he works. Also, the skill is off the charts as far as bat the ball and swinging. And talk about a guy that, like, you didn't notice any difference in him in the cold and the hot, nothing. It's just someone I really, really trust and you can count on. And he's just ultra competitive. And he's going to have his miscues here and there, but he doesn't give at bats away. And I trust him. I love him up there. He grinds. Like, I feel great when he's at the plate, whether he gets a hit or gets out, because I know he's locked in on every single pitch, and nothing prior in the game affects him in the moment when he's at the plate, and that's something I really appreciate about him.
Coach, Saturday you choose to go with Yamal in right field. TK been playing well, obviously. How did that conversation go with TK? How was it received, and how do you think he responded to it?
Oh, he was great. I mean, I just told him, I'm like, hey, man, like, got a lot of good players on this team. I said, I'm not going to let you know every time you're not playing. I'm letting you know now because you've been playing well, and I think Yamal has played really well in practice. I just want to give him a shot. I said, you'll probably be back in there tomorrow, which he was, and he was great. I mean, he gets it. Like, I mean, we got a lot of talented guys, and I got to get him opportunities as best I can. It's hard. It's really hard to take TK out of the lineup, but Yamal proved that he can play too. So. And Yamal provides, just like TK, like an energy, just something about him. Like, his bat finds hits, and he's someone I think we need to get out there more, and I'm going to do everything I can to do that.
Any plan for tomorrow night against Texas State? Obviously, a traditionally really, really good mid-major team. I know you haven't probably looked at them just yet today, but any plan for starting pitching and maybe some guys? It's hard, right? Because you've got to get some of these guys going. You want to get Gavin Cash going. Like, but have you gone through kind of how you're going to play tomorrow?
Briefly, me and JK have been in here for a little bit talking about it, running through different plans, different ideas, just kind of looking over their lineup and what they bring. I think you'll see a decent amount of arms tomorrow from us. So not quite ready on decision, but we'll know. We'll know sometime today, just after looking at them a little more and kind of seeing what they got offensively. And who they're pitching and things like that. So I do not know yet, but we're narrowing it down right now.
Last thing, any update on Josh Stewart in the MRI?
Yeah, so it's a little bit of the old injury, a little bit of new. We've gotten some mixed reviews on it. He's going to have to pitch through some stuff, which I understand. I don't think it's likely you see him this weekend. I've gotten two different opinions, and it's really, we're not. He's not out for the season, from what I've gathered, and not out. Maybe not even out over the next couple weeks. We'll see, but we're still kind of get some more answers on that today, and I'll let you know, Brownie.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach Earley. Appreciate you, sir. Have a great day.
All right, guys. Have a great day.
Michael Earley there on the Buffy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll come back with more with Bronny. Right now, we're talking Rollo Insurance. The difference is real. They're an independent insurance company built around educating you on exactly what you're paying for. They do the shopping for you so that you can accomplish all of your insurance goals. And a goal without a plan is just a plan when the going gets tough. And sooner or later, it will. Who are you going to call? You're going to call a call center, an automated phone tree, or a personal agent's personal cell phone number. All options are not created equal. And at Rollo Insurance, they are, because they want to make sure that your bad days become better days. Go to rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs and learn more today. That is rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. 60 offices in the great state of Texas, but their headquarters is right here on Highway 6 in College Station. 888-44-ROLLO or rolloinsurance.com/TexAgs. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. Ryan Brauninger still with us, talking some baseball. Bronny, how do you kind of sum up the weekend for Aggie baseball?
I think I could sum up the first 6 games and just say, like, they have not come close to playing a complete game yet. And it's okay. You'd have to, for the first 2 games of this series, the weather was a massive factor. I mean, Friday was a top 5 coldest game I've ever been to at Bluebell Park. And then Saturday was somehow worse because it was cold, windy, and wet. And then you had the rain delay in there. That being said, they have not, for any extended amount of time, looked like the unanimous number 1 team in the country. That's okay. That's fine. Nobody cares if you're number 1 in February or March or April. You want to be first in May and June, right? Mm-hmm. That's where you want to be number 1. I think, somebody called me yesterday, like, or do you have on a 1 to 10 scale, how concerned are you? And I'm like, a 2? Like, it's still, if A&M was blasting these teams, what would we have learned? Probably nothing. And if they've struggled here and there with these teams, what would we have learned? I still think nothing, because you know what the talent ceiling is on the roster. Now, they've got to play better. I think this team is still in identity formation mode. Yesterday, as the game went on, I think they only struck out twice yesterday in a 1-run loss. But to me, that's why strikeouts don't matter. They didn't walk, and they didn't have any extra base hits. That's the difference in the game right there. And Jacob Galloway torches the ball to right and stays in the ballpark in the north wind. It would have been a grand slam. And then Benderup obliterates a ball 109 off the bat, somehow stays in the yard because of the north wind. That's okay. Both teams playing in it. But later in the year, that's a big difference maker. But it was wild to me that yesterday, through the first 3 innings, I was like, these are really good at bats. And they are peppering baseballs. And there were a lot of low liners, really hard ground balls. And then after the 3rd inning, when they scored twice, the Cal Poly starter, credit to them and their coaching staff, changed his usage rates in a massive way. So essentially changed not his arsenal, because his pitch arsenal and pitch shapes are always going to stay the same, but he changed the usage of his pitches, right? So to righties, he went predominantly there was 1 inning where he threw 1 fastball, like straight fastball, to Gavin Cash, and that was it. The rest were cutters to righties and changeups to lefties, and that was it. So I thought A&M they took a lot of disconnected swings yesterday, off-balance swings, and really, they didn't strike the ball well at all after the 3rd inning yesterday.
Right.
Like, there wasn't one guy where you're like, man, that was a really good swing. It just right at somebody. A&M did not strike the ball well at all. You've never seen that really out of a Mike Earley offense. I was thinking about that last night. I was like, when's the last time we've seen them go 6 innings where they really didn't even hit anything hard, but they weren't striking out? So, again, this goes back to a lot of this narrative that this team strikes out too much. Well, they didn't strike out yesterday, and they lost. They didn't hit anything because they didn't walk and they didn't slug. So that's why you don't score runs. And, of course, the biggest difference in the game, the biggest swing in the game was an extra base hit by Cal Poly.
Remind me, year 1 of Schloss. Was it the Texas Globe Life Series where people were already giving up on this team?
That was in Frisco. It was a Frisco weekend. They lost to Iowa, they lost to Washington State, and they lost to Wichita State. Maybe I think that was.
Did they lose all 3? I thought
maybe they won. They won one of them, but it was ugly, kind of thing. But look, this team it's way different.
No, I guess my point is, like, this is like we talk about often on this show. This is baseball, and it is a journey. It is a marathon, and they're using certain data points and pieces to correct it for the long haul.
Yeah, that's why I asked him about yesterday late if he thought about Jamal George, just to change the energy of what was walking to the plate.
Yep.
Look, if I'm going to be really candid, and I would tell the kids this, and I think there was some bad body language yesterday, going to and from the plate in the 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th inning. Like, I was close enough where I could hear the dugout. It wasn't like dead in the dugout, but I just think some guys were carrying some past failures with them to the box, from the box to the defense. And I just didn't overall like the body language. And Jamal George, that's why I thought he is such a positive body language guy. If you go back and watch his start on Saturday, watch him between pitches, and it's just really high energy. And I thought the game was crying out for that. Maybe an older Terrence Kill Jr. he can spot that, and he looks around and goes, okay, we need something to get us going. Sure. Maybe I can drag bunt here. It just put some pressure on the Cal Poly defense because A&M was going these innings where it was miss barrel, soft contact, and really didn't push Cal Poly defensively. Meanwhile, on the flip side, Miles Patton was stinking brilliant.
Yep.
But one of the biggest factors going through that game yesterday that I was watching was like Cal Poly kept getting leadoff men on. And eventually that's going to come back to bite you. If you're not going to extend your lead and add some insurance, you're playing in a 2-run game and they keep getting leadoff guys on, eventually that dam's going to break. And it did. So I think you credit Cal Poly. They played well yesterday. A&M had an offensive back 2/3 of the game that I've never seen them have over the last 3-4 years. Just not where they don't hit anything hard. But I do think this can be, don't say that it is because we don't know what's about to happen, but yesterday can be really, really good for this team. In fact, it could be more beneficial than a 1-run win. Really, it could. Because when you win,
it forces you to look in the mirror and make change. Yeah.
Well, not change. How do you say change 6 games into the year? But maybe it forces you to figure out your identity quicker because adversity builds camaraderie, right?
Yep.
And they've been playing choppy. Let's say this season, the first 6 games, the best descriptor of it is choppy. Wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Between the weather, the starting pitching being good, and the relief pitching being bad, or relief pitching being up and down, I should say. Right? The bats being kind of up and down so far. It's just been choppy. The injuries. I mean, Gavin Grahovic's clearly playing with something wrong with him in that left arm. Caden Sorrell not being out there. Josh Stewart now back on the shelf after missing the opening weekend. Brad Rudis is kind of ramping up. He was late to get started in his preparation. So, and let's not forget this. And they are all supremely talented players, some of the best in the country. But Hayden Schott, Jace Lavalette, and Gavin Grahovic missed the entire fall. And then Gavin Grahovic missed quite a bit of the preseason run-up. So, how lathered up are they? There's no substitute for standing in the batter's box and having live at-bats. There's just not. You can swing till your arms fall off in the cage, but you've got to stand in the batter's box against live bullets for you to really get yourself going. So maybe there's some of that still working itself out. Look, there's no 1 ounce of concern or panic in my body, and I can't imagine it's among the players or the coaches, but I do think that maybe yesterday is the wake-up call for them to start finding their identity quicker.
Do you expect or could you see some kind of lineup change this week?
Yeah, I could. I think, do they want to give Gavin a day or from a Sunday through a Friday where he doesn't play, where he's not taking game-type swings with that shoulder being banged up? Do they try to put Yamal behind the plate and see what he can do behind the dish? Do they shift, if they do that, do they shift Hensler to third and does Sawyer Farr play second if Gavin needs a day? So there's a lot of things they could do. Does Gavin Cash come out of the lineup and you put Yamal in left? Yamal's positional versatility is going to allow you to do a lot of different things. But there were some good. There was obviously the starting pitching was fantastic. But this week I'm just more interested in the dugout and the clubhouse, more so than what happens on the field. Start forming some sort of identity for this club. Last year's over with. They've all talked about it. This year's club, the identity, kind of how they relate to each other, how they express themselves on the baseball field is what I'm more interested in.
Thank you, Bronny.
Yep.
Appreciate you. Bird Dog Time, they're our partners here, and they do some awesome events for you hunters. If you love to go hunting, they'll handle all the logistics for you. They're Aggie-owned company that is creating access to hunting opportunities. They're an Airbnb for hunting experiences. So they take care of the hunters, but they also take care of the landowners. If you have land, let them hook you up because what they'll do is they'll find the hunters for your land, but they're also finding other ways to make money because they have a lot of efforts in getting you those tax benefits. We know about ag exemptions, we know about wildlife, but there are many more opportunities that you probably have not thought of, and they have that, they understand it, and they can make you some money. So if you're farming or running cattle on your land, let Bird Dog optimize in finding those benefits. Some of their clients are making an extra $100 to $500 per acre of land. Yeah, Aggie football is great. Thanks. As a reminder, the final segment of the program is brought to you by Double Dave's. That's at 10:50. But right now, caller number 12, 979-693-1150 will hook you up with your choice of a dozen pepperoni rolls or a large one-topping pizza from Double Dave's. They've been around Aggieland since 1984 with your favorite pizza and, of course, those world-famous pepperoni rolls. Reliable in-house delivery, bringing piping hot goodness straight to your door. Just click on doubledaves.com, and your favorites are on their way. Let's go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We're joined by SEC Network and ESPN analyst, play-by-play man, Tom Hart. He analyzes stuff as well. Tom, good morning, buddy.
Good morning. How are we doing today, David?
Kind of mixed emotions, as you can imagine. I would say the worst week of Aggie basketball in the last year. I know they lost a couple early to Alabama and Kentucky, but that felt different because they were kind of in those games. Well, they were in this Tennessee game too, but Wade wasn't playing. I think just the Mississippi State loss and the fact that they just couldn't hit any threes against Tennessee kind of hurts. And then Aggie baseball lost their first non-conference in forever.
Late in the game, right?
Yeah, ninth inning.
Yeah. Ouch. Well, I think the question, with on the basketball side of things is what was different, right? And for me, the way Chaz Lanier shot the ball in the first half against A&M is not necessarily against the scouting report. He started the year really hot. He looked like, the best transfer in college basketball since Dalton Connect. And then once he got into SEC play, he cooled off a little bit. That was the Chaz Lanier of old. So you know that he's capable of it, but he really hadn't shown that in a while. Maybe fits and spurts, occasionally. There are going to be losses in the league this year, and only 4 games left for everybody, but there have already been losses where sometimes you just tip your cap and go, gosh, that's a really good team. Like Tennessee looks like a 1 seed. They look elite. And I think overall having the guards struggle so much, especially Wade from deep and Phelps didn't shoot the ball well from deep, that you're going to run to reach your team goals, to be a Final Four team, for example, you're going to run into a Tennessee-type team from a talent standpoint in the second weekend of the tournament. Can your main guys be the main guys? Like, can they knock down shots when it matters? Tennessee's main guys played like main guys. Lanier in the first half, Ziegler late in the game. And that I kind of feel like, just offering a little bit more thought to it and going a little bit deeper, that's probably the separator here between the elite teams that we see day in and day out in the SEC, which are obviously the best conference college basketball has maybe ever seen, not just this year. But do your main guys make plays at the end of games and throughout games to win against elite competition? And I guess that just didn't happen either against State or against Tennessee relative to what the other stars did.
Well, I think what causes a little bit of pause. Look, I haven't given up on this team. You can't give up in the SEC, as you mentioned, maybe the best conference we've ever seen with talent-wise. But I think what just kind of worries folks is that, yeah, that was tough. And you still got tougher ahead with, you got Vandy, which you got to win. You got to win the Vandy game.
Yeah.
At Florida, Auburn. Like, it's like, and then you finish off with LSU. But, like, you just don't want that kind of wrong momentum heading into the tournament time.
You're not wrong. And I understand the stress of, oh my gosh, like we just lost a one seed, perhaps a 1 seed, and we've got 2 more coming up in our last 4 games. But the reality is, if you just step back and look at it from a 30,000-foot view, Tennessee loss isn't really going to hurt you. You lose at Florida or home against Auburn, it's not going to hurt you. Now, the hurt is, okay, what can we figure out? Like, what can we get right? How do we compete? How do we win close games against elite teams? But you finish 2-2 down the home stretch. You go into Nashville, you win a game or 2. Like, you're fine. I mean, we're talking about a team that in the first top 16 reveal was right there as a 2 seed. It's whether you're 2 seed or a 4 seed, are they better than the others? Yeah, absolutely. We're getting down in the dirty details. But the reality is Alabama last year, this time of year, was not playing great basketball. They kind of limped into the postseason. And I think people looked at them rightfully and was like, gosh, they've lost their momentum. Can that team win? We know what all their warts are. That's the other thing that happens when you play in an elite league. You can't hide any of your warts. Like, people know at this time of year exactly who you are. The scouting reports are as true as they've ever been. You're not going to surprise anything. But then Alabama took off and made it to the Final Four. So it's really hard, and you'd have to have a crystal ball to say, oh, we went on a deep run in March. Those, late February struggles were no big deal. You don't know that, so I understand the concern. But at the same time, this team is exactly who it is, Could the perimeter defense have been a little bit better in the first half? Yeah, maybe that would have been the difference in the game. But losses to Florida and Auburn aren't going to hurt. And if you pull one of those off, oh my gosh, like now all of a sudden everybody's feeling better about the entire season.
Well said, Tom. I think those are great words. And also, I look at it like this. When they get to the tournament, as long as they survive this next stretch with like keeping a 3-4 seed like kind of level of team, which I think they certainly can, and maybe even if they win those two against Auburn and Florida, maybe they get the 2 seed. But regardless, whoever they play in round 1, 2 is probably, I'm saying probably, you're probably not taking on the kind of level of competition you're playing right now.
No, not even close. Not even, and the real focus is then. Look what happened to Auburn last year. Auburn wins the SEC championship on Sunday afternoon. I just had them on Saturday, so I was talking to Pearl about this at their practice. They win the SEC championship. What an incredible accomplishment. You get to cut down the nets, hang another trophy. You go into the NCAA tournament with a great seed, and you're just getting ready to rock and roll. And then all of a sudden, you lose a day of prep. You add a day of travel to get from Auburn all the way to Spokane. You play Yale. One of your star players throws an elbow, gets ejected, and boom, your season's over. And I have seen scenarios this year with SEC teams. I think it happened with Missouri going to Florida early in the year. Missouri's a much better team, playing much better now than they were going into that weekend. And Florida took them for granted. And I think that grind that every one of these teams has been through, the true risk is then getting up for, we've all seen it, those Thursday 11 a.m. local time starts in the NCAA tournament against a seed that, you would beat by 30 on your home court in December 7th. And now all of a sudden it's lose, it's win or go home, and you can take them for granted. And I do think we're going to see a record number of SEC teams get in. There's going to be at least a couple scenarios where we go, wow, that team played such an intense regular season and faced a top 10 opponent like every other game. I mean, on average, that's what you're getting in this league. It's a top 10 opponent every other game on average. That they took this team from, name a conference, the Mountain West, the American, whatever. They took them for granted and they lost and they're out. To me, that's a bigger concern because all of these games and the prep and the intensity and everybody knows each other. It's so intense. And the margin of error is so thin in these games that, once you get out of Nashville, okay, what's next? And that's the buildup to where you want to be. You got to take care of business.
Tom, I want to close out with this because I thought it was an interesting talking point. You retweeted and had your quote tweet on top of it. CBS Sports has learned that Illinois will become the next state to introduce a bill exempting NIL dollars from state tax. It goes on to say more, and you say, how's this different than exempting pro athlete free agents from paying income taxes?
Yeah, I think it started in Georgia. Georgia's talking about it because within the footprint of the SEC, you have multiple states that don't have an income tax, right? Florida, Tennessee, Texas, right? So the $100,000 I give to David Nuño to come play defensive line at Texas A&M goes just a little bit farther than the $100,000 I tried to give him to come to Georgia to play defensive end. And so that's why the politicians get involved. As a taxpayer, I think this is really short-sighted. We get a lot of tax breaks in this country, and I'm not up on all of them. But for specific purposes to bring money into given states, right? The film industry in Georgia is a big part of the economy here. We give all sorts of tax breaks to filmmakers. I don't know that this is the path we want to go down as a sport or even for the politicians because it's just riddled with lawsuits. First, from the students that are on campus working that are continuing to pay their income taxes, wherever that may be. And I don't think it makes that big a difference. I think, What kind of car would have gotten stolen in South Florida with the former Georgia quarterback if he hadn't had to pay taxes? A slightly nicer Lamborghini? What? And why shouldn't he pay taxes on the income of the $4 million that he's going to be make to play quarterback when people working third shift and 2 jobs and trying to make ends meet, single moms and all those have to pay those same taxes?
Tom, good stuff, man. Thanks very much for your time.
Bye, David. Be good, bud.
See you, man. When we come back on TexAgs Live, we'll do Around Aggieland with Kay Naegeli. We'll get her thoughts on everything happening around this great university right now. We're going to hit a break, but beforehand, we're talking Heritage Films. They're a company that makes documentary films about families, family businesses, family ranches. If you got a family thing that you all do, I don't know, whatever it is, you play charades on Saturdays. I don't know. I'm just thinking of things. You guys go every year to the Florida Keys, and it's just a kind of family thing. You got different parts of your family all there. You should have Chance McClain do a story on the entire thing, a 2-hour documentary story on what your family is all about, what your family does, who the patriarch is, the matriarch, the whole story, right? Let them do a 2-hour documentary that will be preserved and that you can share with the next generation and the generation after that. Learn all about your family, what it's about, what it gets into, what it does, everything. And it's an easy thing that Chance and his company does. He's one of the most creative guys I know, if not the most creative guy I know. Started a radio station in Houston, has done Broadway musicals. He's done everything. And now he does Heritage Films. The website, yourheritagefilm.com, yourheritagefilm.com, 713-893-8341, 713-893-8341. It is Heritage Films. Hey, everybody. Fancy that. We're here on TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. We're in the Rollo Insurance Studio. It is now time for Around Aggieland, and that is presented by Normandy State Bank. And Normandy State Bank has, you know what? Rock solid banking. You know what? You can learn more at normandystatebank.com. And with that,
we had a lot going on today.
My
we have a lot in the
goodness.
back. We have a lot of
you
sports.
know how many people hit the camera today?
I know that camera.
It's been hit today twice.
I have size 10 feet, and they just whacked the thing. So that was on me. We're all good now. We're gonna get through some Around Aggieland. Want to talk some hoops first and foremost. Unfortunately, it was an 0-5 week for Aggie basketball all around the men's and women's side. Want to start off the women's. They lost their 8th straight game and continue to sink to the bottom of the SEC, unfortunately, dropping a contest at Mississippi State. 81-55 was the final. It was just a forgetful week for women's Aggie basketball. Lost to 39 against Alabama on Monday, 22 against Florida, and then 26 to the Bulldogs yesterday. They will have one final chance to win their first true road game of the year. That will come on Thursday at Vanderbilt in Nashville. Tip-off is set for 6:30. Moving over to the men's side, it was also kind of a forgetful week. They went 0-2. They were beaten by Tennessee on Saturday. They were on fire from 3. Chaz Lanier just dropped 30 at Reed Arena. It was a ridiculous outing. They will face Vanderbilt on Wednesday at 6 p.m. back at Reed Arena. On the baseball front, Texas A&M took the series against Cal Poly, but unfortunately dropped Sunday's contest 4-3. The Aggies led 2-0 in the ninth, but a 2-run homer and an unearned run from the Mustangs just allowed them to steal that Sunday game. They stayed at number 1 in D1 baseball's poll. They will play Texas State at Bluebell on Tuesday at 6 p.m., so make sure to check that out. It was also on the diamond in Florida. Trisha Ford's Aggies were playing over there in Tallahassee. They went 5-0 this weekend, had a great outing, took a doubleheader from Florida A&M, took a doubleheader from number 8 Florida State, and then they also walked it off against Southeastern Louisiana. They moved to 15-1. That is a great start for their Aggies and look to continue success at the Texas A&M Invitational this upcoming weekend, and they will start against Texas State on Thursday. On the women's tennis front, we've talked a lot about this team, but I just want to get another bit on it real fast. They came back from a 3-0 deficit to defeat Texas, now an in-conference rival and arch rival, as we know. I want to talk about this quote from Mark Weaver. It was awesome. He said, "That was a storybook ending. I've been doing this a long time, 26 years of coaching. This one is definitely up there at the top. To be down 3-0, to come into Austin and beat one of the best teams in the nation." So what an awesome outing from the reigning national champions and Mark Weaver's Aggies. They will head back to Aggieland to continue conference play against Arkansas on Friday. On the men's tennis front, they went 2-1 this weekend. And then on Sunday, they dropped a 4-2 decision to Florida State after defeating Lamar 4-1. They will travel to Fayetteville. Men's golf will head to the Southern Highlands Collegiate in Las Vegas. That will be on March 2nd. Women's golf is set to partake in the Chevron Collegiate Golf Club of Houston beginning today. And then the track and field team was over at Notre Dame this weekend. The men's distance relay capped off the Aggies' indoor regular season with a school record time of 9:20:51 on Saturday at the Alex Wilson Invitational. They will prepare to host the SEC Championships here in Aggieland over at the new facility, and that will run this weekend. And we have more equestrian and swimming and diving updates on our site.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much.
Cool.
Appreciate you, KK. All right, we're going to hit a break here in a moment. When we come back on TexAgs Live, Buzz Williams and Billy Liucci. Obviously, we got to break down what happened this week. We'll talk about some of the issues shooting the ball and closing out the last couple of games against Mississippi State, and obviously what happened against Tennessee. We'll look ahead at this game against Vanderbilt, and won't look too far ahead with Coach Buzz. We'll get into some some college football stuff with Billy. I got some questions to get into. Maybe the NFL will pop up as well as the Combine is set to start. So we got a lot of great stuff to get into. You are listening to the world-famous TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers in the Rollo Insurance Studio. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. It is hour number 3 of the program. Talk a little Aggie basketball. Vanderbilt coming up this week. Looking back at what happened over the weekend, we go to the Buppy's Catering Hotline. We're joined by Buzz Williams here on TexAgs Live. Coach Williams, good morning, sir.
Good morning.
So obviously this weekend showed us, again, another example of what this SEC is all about. Just talk to me about the challenges of the week and moving ahead.
Yeah, that's what it is. Every possession is a challenge, regardless of if we have the ball or the other team has the ball. Tennessee's good enough to win the national championship. I felt like we're in that range. Per possession, it was a 1 or 2 possession game. I thought the guys did a lot of good things. We were connected. We played to the scouting report. We missed shots that we would hope to make. That's part of it. Their number 2 was incredibly hot in the first half. I thought our adjustments in the second half kind of slowed that down, but it's exactly what we expected. We played much, much better than we did on Tuesday in Starkville. I thought that was as poorly as we had played potentially all year long. Way too many live ball turnovers, way too many block shots. Never gave us a chance to get fouled, never gave us a chance to get an offensive rebound. And then playing in the broken floor and never getting our defense set. All of that is a credit to Mississippi State. But what our problems were on Tuesday, we did not have those problems on Saturday.
Talking to Buzz Williams here on TexAgs Live. Coach Williams, how difficult is it, when you have to balance a good-looking shot versus missing shots? Like, is there conversations of, hey, guys, this is not working right now, let's switch it up? Or are you like, let's take our open looks and I trust my guys to make them?
Yeah, we grade our shots. It's probably a little bit too in-depth to answer succinctly, but we talk about grades. What would that grade be? 1 being the worst, 5 being the best, on not necessarily the person, more so our team, what we consider to be predictable. Is that predictable? Is that the person we want shooting, when we want shooting, relative to time, score, momentum? And, for us to shoot 45% in the first half against the number 1 defense in the country, we shot 62% from the field. If you take away our threes, we shot 90% from the free throw line, made the same, attempted the same number as they did. So a lot of those threes that we missed, I understand we're not a great 3-point shooting team, but they were the right shots. They were predictable shots. I think that's why they gave up more offensive rebounds than they had all year long, because our offense was predictable and the grades of those possessions were what we would want them to be. So it's kind of more of a categorical thing than anything else.
I know that you go way more in depth than we do as talk show hosts and analysts, but how often do you find yourself maybe using as coachable moments the what-if plays? If we don't tap that ball in the cylinder, how the game plays out, just those fine points in a game that can lead to one direction or the other.
Yeah, probably not near as much as you think. I think that's just trying to justify that I was right. I don't get into that. What I want to try to figure out is how can I help our team? And I'm not looking to complain. I'm not looking to blame. I'm not looking to defend, hey, we did that right. It should have been that. And as it's happening, David, in real time, I know when it's, dang, man, that one hurts. But that's just kind of part of it. And I think my job as a leader is to speak life, make sure that I'm helping to encourage how we can improve on each side of the ball, special team situations, and also understand that we learn from those lessons. I don't think we can avoid opportunities to teach and opportunities to try to improve wherever we're at, because you want to continue to improve. And when you get post-Valentine's Day, that's hard to do for any program. That's hard to do for any team because you are talking about details. So I don't think that I probably give as much energy to that. I don't look at my phone. I don't look at social media. I do look at ESPN and I look at the scores. So probably a little removed from a lot of the emotion and drama and opinions, because I don't think any of that helps us improve. And I think that's my responsibility, is to be in charge of that.
Buzz, when I'm watching that game, and obviously with the first half that Chaz Lanier had, and then you guys come out in the second half, and I thought really did a nice job of making him give up the ball or denying him the ball. And then he hits like a 30-footer, and it seemed to, get him going a little bit again. But what adjustments did y'all make at halftime to make him less of a factor, at least until he hit that shot, which I don't know how you defend that one.
Yeah, I think the things that we did altered number two's looks, and transparently, 13 threes made is a hard number to overcome. Whether it came from one major person or not, 13 threes, that's 39 points, that's a lot. And so for it to be a 1 and 2 possession game for 37, 38 minutes, that speaks to we were doing a lot of really, really good things. In regards to, we shot more balls than they did. We shot the same amount of free throws. We offensive rebounded at a really, really high rate, considering they're the 16th best offensive rebounding team in the country. They did not get their offensive rebound percentage that they typically get. So there were a lot of good things. Did we lose because number two scored 30? No, we didn't lose because number two scored 30. We played at Oklahoma last month, and the guy scored more than that, and we won. And so, you are going to find and fight at times outlier stats. The outlier stat at Oklahoma, the guy scores 32. Well, we had an outlier stat too, because Zoo scored 32. That same kid comes here and scores 28. So outlier stats, we were awful in Starkville. Way too many live ball turnovers. We count block shots as live ball turnovers. So there were 22 times that we either gave them the ball when the clock was running, and or we shot the ball and it was blocked. Obviously, the clock was running. If 22 times in a 67 possession game, your defense is not going to be set and you're going to be in a broken floor, that's a lot to overcome. And so I think the changes we made were right, but obviously when you make those changes, you're going to open yourselves up to some other things. And I thought Five took advantage. Five's a really good player, one of the better guards I think that the SEC's ever had. And I think he knew how we were handling too, and that allowed him to do some different things than what he was doing in the first half. So it's just a little bit of chess that's always going on in those situations, and that's just part of it.
I'm just shocked when you mentioned Five. I'm shocked looking at Ziegler's stat line that he scored 16 points. It just felt like it's a compliment to him. It felt like he did so much more, just the way he was playing. That whole team, I felt like, look, to me, you mentioned Mississippi State, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought that was the first time, and maybe all year, but in a while, where I was like, that's uncharacteristic Aggie basketball. This game the other morning, I'm looking at that as like, that felt like an Elite Eight kind of basketball game. I mean, Tennessee, I maybe would have felt differently, Buzz, had they come in here and they shot 5 for 30 from three and their best player no-showed or something. Like if Ziegler would have played a bad game, and go, well, they tried to give it to A&M and we still lost. But I thought Tennessee was on their A game Saturday, and arguably their two best players I thought played outstanding. And you're looking up at the end of the game with a shot to win it. That felt like postseason, very high-stakes basketball. I felt a lot better. I know it's 2 losses in a week, and you're probably like, no, we got to get back to work. Monday couldn't get here fast enough. But I felt a lot better I just felt like you guys got back to playing high-level basketball on Saturday, and that was a fun game to be at right up until the very end.
Yeah, and I told our guys that immediately after the game. I am not justifying losing. I will take every arrow and every figurative bullet that comes my way. anytime we lose. And I will shine as much praise and glory on as many people as possible every single time we win. But in my soul, I felt completely different post-game Saturday than I did post-game Tuesday. And I believe our players felt the same. We were not our best. That's a credit to Mississippi State and what they're fighting for and the physicality and the demeanor in which they competed. I thought our mentality was much more back to in line with who we are and how we've got to this point on Saturday. I think Tennessee is good enough to win the whole thing. I think number 5 is elite. I think number 2 played incredibly well, and he is their second best player. But I think we did a lot of good things that are much more in tune with how we want to play. And I think we were comfortable being uncomfortable throughout all of it. I did not think that we shied away from how we had to play or how hard we had to play or the communication level that we had to have. I thought we played to the scouting report really, really well. The things that they were dominant at, number 1 defense in the country, and we scored at a higher percentage at the rim than we have all year, in this particular month. We did a lot of really good things. It wasn't enough, but I felt like we were going back in the direction that we have to proceed in and not fighting things that we know we can't be a part of like it was in Starkville.
Yeah.
Buzz, if we can touch on some of the things that did go right, the free throws that you mentioned earlier, 18 of 20, the offensive rebounding, just touch a little bit on getting back to your identity because that's how your team wins games.
Yeah, they don't turn it over. We try not to turn it over. Their defense forces you to turn it over. Our defense forces you to turn it over. I thought that category relative to how we want to be, it was a push. I thought on the glass, we offensive rebounded 44%. We're number 1 in the country. That's above our average. We defensive rebounded 75%. We're number 1 in defensive rebounding in the SEC. That was better, and they are among the best in the country from an offensive rebounding standpoint. We got to the bonus first in the first half. They never got to the bonus. That was huge. In the second half, in essence, we both got to the single bonus and double bonus at about the same time. 18 for 20, that's the best we've shot all year from a percentage standpoint. That was encouraging. For us to shoot more balls speaks to we played with a low turnover rate, and we also had a high offensive rebound percentage. 16 baskets, 16 assists on 23 baskets. That means the ball was moving. We were getting their second weak side guy back into the play. That's hard to do versus them. So there were a lot of really positive things. We did not win. The head coach should be blamed in every possible way. But I like the nature in which we went about our work and the mentality in which we competed. I don't think that we played a player who was turning a blind eye to what their responsibilities were. And when there was a mistake, Billy's talking about the 3 that 2 hit on sideline out of bounds from 30 feet. That was one of those moments. That was worse than Gochi on the putback after 4 got fouled on offensive goaltending.
Yeah.
But there's going to be those. And a lot of times when we call it real on real. That was real on real on Saturday. And when both teams are hooked up, is there an outlier stat? Is it for us? Is it for them? There was an outlier stat on Tuesday. We turned the ball over way too many times live ball. There was an outlier stat on Saturday. Number 2 scored 30 points.
Mm-hmm.
But when it's real on real and everybody's hooked up and you're playing, they're playing to their report, we're playing to our report, so to say, many times when you get to this late in the year, it's going to be the team that makes the fewest mistakes. Those shots that we shot, I hate that we missed them. I know who took them, I know that they missed them, but I would also say that shoot them again because they were predictable, because there were a lot of good things that happened. We didn't make them at a high enough rate. Were the wrong people shooting them? Maybe one or two. But if you're going to shoot 30, that's 3 more than we typically shoot. Could we have shaved that one off or shaved that one off? Yeah, that's worth discussing, and we will discuss that with our group. But like from a contextual standpoint, from start to finish, I really like the way we went about our work.
Buzz Williams here with us on TexAgs Live. Buzz, just some final thoughts on Vanderbilt coming up, the difficulties of that matchup.
Yeah, I started studying early yesterday morning, and, obviously it's whatever, this will be game 15, and a brand new roster, brand new coach, brand new style of play. They play completely different than they have ever played, rightfully so. It's all new people. And I haven't studied them or watched them because there's no familiarity. And so our group's got a lot of work to do. We started yesterday, and as soon as I hang up with you, we've got the day lined up. But they do play more 5 out, probably more so than any team in our league. It's in the same ilk as Kentucky, in the same ilk as Oklahoma. It's probably a little closer to Oklahoma in regards to how dominant their guards are, and the people that you think are their forwards have guard skills. So they spread you out if you allow it. They shoot a lot of threes. They play with a lot of freedom, similar to Oklahoma, in how they make reads on what you're going to do on the weak side. So all of these reps and all of these hours of work before we play Wednesday night are very important. On the newness of, we don't know any of their players, nor do our players. We don't know their style of play, nor do our players. So this is, in game 15, this is a big, I'm glad that we're not playing until Wednesday because we have 2 full days in regards to being with our guys. We started this morning in early bird. Early bird is always just for us, but we'll go this afternoon and start what we call 2 days before, which is beginning the preparation part for the opponent. So we've got a lot of work in front of us.
And then road trip to Florida. It never stops in this league. I mean, the SEC, since you've been here, Buzz, there's been some really tough years where the league's up, and there's been a couple where I felt like it's not been as good, but this is like nothing that I don't remember seeing this in all the years in the Big 12, to be honest. When the Big 12 was an elite basketball conference, the depth here, we're talking about Vanderbilt with a new coach, like you just said, all new players, and they're going to the tournament, and like have beaten some really good teams, and no one, I feel like, will mention Vanderbilt when you talk about these top teams in the SEC. It's a team that could be playing the second weekend, in March Madness. Is this good? Is this good for you guys?
They're an NCAA. They're an NCAA tournament team.
Yep.
They just beat Ole Miss. Ole Miss is coming off their bye week. Ole Miss didn't play midweek last week, just like Tennessee didn't play midweek last week. They only played us.
Yep.
Ole Miss had their bye week, lost at Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt is an NCAA tournament team. They had some huge wins in non-conference. And I think the thing that I've learned through all of this is, like, I know your conversations in your role are completely different than the conversations that I have, but I think that from a statistical standpoint, you can cut out all of the opinions. And Texas A&M men's basketball team this year, it's their 113th year as a Division I institution, and they've been in multiple leagues. And statistically speaking, the league that they're currently playing in,
toughest ever.
Never before in any league has there ever been a league that's better than this. And so, having said that, looking through a lens of yesteryear, like, I can't believe Vanderbilt's good. Yeah, you got to let go, not you.
Yeah.
You have to let go of what you think they were. There's a portal now involved. There's NIL now involved. There's new coaches now involved. And they're an NCAA tournament team. And whoever you play, I would say in the 16 teams going into the last week of February, I would say right now there's 13 of those teams that are going to the NCAA tournament. So it's not that speaks to the value of that possession. That speaks to, like David said, hey, what about that possession? What about that possession? I understand. I'm not a fan, but yes, I get it.
Mm-hmm.
But what I'm saying is it's going to be a 66, 68, 69 possession game. And whether you have the ball or don't, you are playing an NCAA tournament team. And it is going to be an NCAA tournament type deal, even though they're not saying that's what it is.
Yeah.
That game that happened here on Saturday, that's it. That is an Elite Eight game.
Yep.
Winner goes to the Final Four. Winner goes to San Antonio. And so all of these reps, we have to learn from them. We can't anticipate the finish line like, oh, okay, we got 2 more weeks, 2 games at home, 2 games on the road. Oh, yeah, we're playing the number 2 team. We're playing the number 1 team. Oh, let's just focus on them. No, we better focus on these guys because what they've done in the last 6 weeks has never happened at Vanderbilt either. And so it's just the value and the monumental feel of this particular possession. And we've got to continue to fight for every possession and find marginal ways to improve so that our best continues to change so that as each week falls, we're a little better. We're a little better. And that's what every team's trying to do, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
That is Buzz Williams on the Buffy's Catering Hotline. Coach, we appreciate your time, sir. Good luck.
Thanks, Buzz.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Buzz Williams there on the Buffy's Catering Hotline. We'll hit a break. We'll talk a little more basketball with Billy on the other
We'll
side.
talk a lot of basketball, a lot of baseball, and some football as well. Some interesting around the country developments.
There are some interesting around the country developments. I don't think you like. I don't know.
I like that shirt. Don't even try to make me the bad guy.
But you did do a double take when you walked in.
I was going to make a picnic table comment, but I like it. It's a good look. I like it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not your norm. That's why I'm double taking.
I was thinking the same thing about your jacket. I was thinking it was like a fall picnic, like out in the park. That's what I was thinking.
I mean, it's a fall kind of jacket for sure.
Picnic.
That's a picnic table.
Or go to Pizza Hut. This is like if you want to.
Pizza Hut? Oh, I didn't think about Pizza Hut.
Or yours is if you go to Milliken
good.
Reserve and want to put
Double
your
Dave's.
little blanket on the floor and have your little picnic there. That's what yours is.
Okay.
You see?
Okay.
I respond.
I like that.
Let's talk about Southwood Valley Animal Hospital, serving Brazos Valley for the last 30 years. They have a couple of new owners from a couple of years back. That would be Dr. Justin Casares and Dr. Lauren Casares. They took over ownership then, and they're doing some great work. Aggie owned and operated. They provide routine veterinary services, including wellness visits, sick emergency care, and surgical care. And they have advanced medical care at affordable prices, and they're elevating medicine here in the Brazos Valley. And they want to take care of the students. So if you're a student listening to this show, if you work on this show, you listen to the show, you watch this show, they're going to give you a discount when you go there. And if you just listen to the show, they're going to give you the TexAgs discount the first time you go there. That's an easy one, $12 off when you go to Southwood Valley Animal Hospital. The phone number, 979-693-9898. That is 979-693-9898. Or go to southwoodvalleyvet.com. And we're back. TexAgs Live, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers, Rollo Insurance Studio. I'm trying to talk with a smile because, broadcasters, because I think,
sounds better.
Well, not only does it sound better, it's, I have RBF, we've discussed. I don't have a happy face, right?
No,
I've been told that, but, it's just like, why is he in a bad mood? I'm in a great mood.
Same.
I don't like that we lost, but I'm in a great mood.
It doesn't have to affect your Monday mood. It affected my Saturday mood.
We talked Sunday morning,
Affected my Sunday mood, but look, I'm going to go into the fan reaction on message boards and Twitter and all that. I'm not going to try not to sound like Matt Painter. Some of the listeners, they'll post about, they'll get real sensitive and think that we're saying you can't criticize. And if you think that that's what we're saying, then I'm going to be nice this morning. Then you don't understand what I'm trying to say. But I'm going to start by finishing talking about this basketball game. When I told Buzz that, I meant it. It felt like an Elite Eight game.
Yeah.
Both teams were playing at a very high level. Texas A&M did not shoot at a high level at all. In fact, they shot at a terrible level from the three-point line. So I saw all this stuff. Why would you settle for those shots and why? Well, a couple things to me in that game. And I don't know, I'd like to ask other basketball coaches and Buzz, if you had it to do again, would you have attacked their defense differently? But they're the number one defensive team in college basketball for a reason. And just like A&M will take away top scorers, and we talked about this all year, Tennessee has the ability to take something away from you. And what they did is they took away the inside game. Pharrell Payne had a nightmare week every time he touched the ball.
All week.
Mississippi State and Tennessee they swarmed him. There was nothing really inside for the Aggies other than Wade and Zurich getting to the basket sometimes, but more often than them getting to the basket, and a lot of times they get the ball just ripped right from them.
Yeah.
I'll talk about a stretch in the game. Remind me to talk about that in a second. But kicking it out to wide open. Now, I thought Wade took some bad shots from three, and I thought there were times when Zurich would just kind of one of my gripes is a lot of times these threes are to end possession. Not a lot, but some of them, it's too much dribbling by one guy, and then you make the pass, and then you have to make a quick second pass because the shot clock's going down, and you fire it up. Whereas you saw Tennessee, it's like they were making that one extra pass each time of whipping it around to that backside and getting three. When one guy's dribbling for so long, which on some key stretches, I was just give up the ball or somebody move to him, get the ball, But for the most part, and this is where I completely agree with Buzz when he says 33s, he's okay, maybe it's a few too many for him. I don't love Solo taking 4, okay? I like the way Andy does it. It's he'll take one, and if he's way off, you don't see him take another one.
Yeah.
He hit 2 the other day. Usually if he misses 2, he's kind of done. And even if he's open, he's going to pass that ball off.
Yeah.
Solo hadn't gotten there yet with it. But, man, when Wade and Zurich shoot more than half of your threes, and then you throw in Wilcher, when CJ, and that's 20 of your 33s, I'm great with that. I don't like the number 30, but if 20 of them are shot by them, I'm good with it. Wade 0 for 9. Again, there was probably at least, I'd say 3 of those where I'm just don't shoot that. You're not on. But Wade, you live and die with it because he shoots it to get out of that. And a lot of times it works. 5 for 30 is brutal. If they got 8 for 30, they win that basketball game. And that's still not good. So, a lot of those shots were wide open three-pointers by 10, 4, and 1. Those are the 3 guys that I want on this team shooting wide open three-pointers. And they didn't make them the other day. CJ at 1 for 4 is usually, he's the rate he's been shooting.
He's been shooting 40%.
I'd expect him to make 3 for 4. No, he's getting looks, he's popped. So while I'm don't shoot 30 of them, it's what Tennessee was. They they took away A&M's strength down there, and that's why they're a top defensive team. Somehow A&M still managed to score about 70 points with all of that going on.
And went to the line.
Against the best defensive team in the country, and they made 18 out of 20.
A team that doesn't foul a bunch, by the way, put A&M on the line 20 times.
Yeah, I thought the Aggies played really, really well. They just shot terribly from beyond the arc. And someone will say, well, why did they keep doing it? I'm just going, yes, I think maybe if you game plan different, maybe. I don't know if that helps anyway, because it doesn't help a lot of teams playing Tennessee. But those were the open looks.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like when A&M plays defense, those were the open looks. And so sometimes you go, man, this guy's just killed us from three. Not Lanier, because he was just going off, but like, how'd that guy from Penn State do that? How did Colorado come? They're making the extra pass. They're taking what A&M's defense is going to kind of yield at the very end of it, and they hit shots. The Aggies could not hit shots. Man, they were there. You didn't have to shoot. What was Tennessee? You didn't have to shoot 13 of 27 from three to win that game. You could have shot, like I said, like 8 for 30. And I think if you played that game again, Wade Taylor is probably way more likely to be 3 for 9. And Zurich Phelps is more likely to be 2 for 7, and Wiltshire 2 for 4. You know, and it's a completely different basketball game. So,
Billy, I think part of the issue, and the issue is like mood and all the things that we started the segment with, is that you look back at Mississippi State, right?
I thought they played like crap in that game.
Yeah, they did. But you remember that, and then you project what has happened now with what's left schedule-wise. And you can't do that.
No.
Because you got to play the freaking game.
But listen, let me also explain. Like, it's the same thing that everybody did with baseball this weekend. And it sucked, man. It sucked to read. It sucked to see people online, the reaction to it, the throwing the athletes under the bus and the coaches. Like, it's like it really was. It is like watching a bunch of adults have a absolute childish fit when Texas A&M loses. And the reaction to me saying that is, you same people that do this are going to say that I'm okay with losing, or that you can't be critical. And that's the common fight on our boards is, oh, you can't be. My ass. And you guys are so full of, you're so full of crap, and I want to cuss a lot more to get my point across. Nobody ever has said, don't be critical when it's 5 for 30 from three. Don't be critical, or don't ask any questions when your team loses 2 games. Don't look at 2 weekends of baseball and say, frankly, from where I sit, they haven't played very good baseball. Their starting pitching has been really good. I thought pitching in general was good this weekend. It kind of ends there through 2 weeks. And now, that's a simple, factual kind of statement, but you don't have to take it all the way that in 2 weeks you're questioning Early, or you're questioning, players in the lineup, whether they should be benched or not. Certain guys that are actually very proven, and you're wondering if they should be set down or you give up. I saw someone say on Twitter, like, give up on the Caden Wilson experiment. He's like 5 games into his sophomore year. And it's like people just throw out common frickin' sense that watch Chris Cortez go from having no control but great stuff to being a guy that they sorely miss right now. They just throw that out the window. They throw out what, say, Hayden Schott did all year last year. They throw out what Gavin Cash has done for 2 years at Texas Tech, where it's like, guys, do y'all know this guy's hit 42 or 46 home runs and hit 315 with, like, is it like 130 RBIs the last 2 years there? And we're going to go off the first, 6 games in an A&M uniform. It's just stuff like that to me is insane.
Yes.
And I got a text from someone this week that I really respect, like, their opinion, and And they were just railing on Wade, saying, hold on this break, if you don't mind. They were railing on Wade, saying, oh, he only shows up for games that don't matter, not the big ones. And I'm just like, how the frick do you say that? I'll be the first to say Wade played a bad game offensively. I don't know how he rated defensively. He missed 9 3-pointers without making one. He made his free throws. He was 4 of 15 from the field. He fought his way to 18 points. That was not a good offensive game from Wade Taylor, period. Wade Taylor is one of the best to ever wear this uniform. And to say 2 weeks after he hits a game-winning shot, a circus three-pointer on the road against a top 15 team, to say he doesn't do it against big teams. 2 years ago, I watched that guy at Reed Arena score 35 or so, 38 maybe, in beating number 2 Alabama. I watched him last year in Nashville light up Kentucky in a win, light up Florida in a high-scoring loss. We were all so worried about whatever his name is for Nebraska, the three-point ace from Japan, and it was Wade Taylor that clowned his ass in March Madness in the NCAA tournament. So this need by so many of our fans online, and if you're not them, I'm not talking to you. If you are, I am, and I don't give a damn. The need, it doesn't mean, and by the way, it doesn't mean you're wrong. A&M could be a big disappointment this year in March Madness and in baseball. I don't think they will, because I've watched this basketball team all year, like Olin was saying. They're 20-7. Alabama's ranked, what, they're going to be a 1 seed maybe? I watched them lose 2 games in a row last week. One against the team A&M went and beat in Missouri. So, and baseball, again, like, I'm going to give that group the benefit of the doubt and understand that they're 2 weeks into, they're 6 games into a 60-game season. But if you end up being right, it still doesn't justify the reaction right now and the vitriol and the just venom that so many spew, and just the raising up the frickin' give up stick. It's pitiful to watch. And and that does not mean you can't criticize. There is plenty to analyze and critique and question anytime. Like, hey, they lost 2 in a row in hoops. One of the games was a bad performance, and you look up and go, man, Vandy's good. Florida's elite. Auburn's elite. I mean, I'm going to tell you what, if they lose 2 of those 3 games, they still have a chance to go as far as any basketball team in A&M history. So it's mind-blowing sometimes how quick we are to bury and just turn on our own around here. And again, understand what I'm saying. 90% of the people, it used to be like 98, it's gone way down. 85% of the people can sit here and say, man, they're not hitting well, what's wrong? They better fix that in a hurry. Or, hey, we still have questions about the bullpen. Like, I got to see it before that's no longer a question. Or defense was bad on the diamond, it has been to open the season. It's a concern. These are real things to say. Hey, A&M outside shooting really concerns us, because in the tournament, you have a game like that from beyond the arc, your whole season might be over. A month ago, it was the free throws we were worried about saying it. These are legitimate criticisms. If you want to ask, why are all these teams having guys that can shoot threes and A&M hasn't for the last few years? Legitimate question, legit criticism. But to fly off the handle like I saw after this weekend, it was miserable. It was unenjoyable. Losing is bad enough, but can we not just have conversations about it that are rational? And I think both these sports have given you more than enough reason for hope. Somebody on Twitter yesterday spouted off like, so we suck in all 3 of the major sports. Like, you should just deactivate and go do something else besides try to watch and evaluate sports if you think A&M sucks at all 3 of the big 3. It's crazy to say that while 2 of them are essentially in the top 10 One's ranked number 1. One was ranked number 7 this week. It's wild. And that's, unfortunately, that mindset and thought process is becoming more and more widespread and visible to me. Some of it on our own website. And it's sickening.
All right, we'll hit a break. We'll come back with a short segment. Then we'll come back with another short segment.
And then we'll go extra.
And then we'll go extra. We'll go as long as we want to go, at least in 6 minutes, maybe 10. A moment for Caldwell Country Chevrolet, Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. They've got medium-duty trucks for those heavier jobs. They got big trucks. They got them all. When you go to Caldwell Country Chevrolet, they are locally owned and operated by Aggie alumni. They do have complimentary pickup and delivery for their service customers and free oil changes for life on your purchase, as long as you own that vehicle from Caldwell Country Chevrolet. They're a proud supporter of Aggie athletics, and they have a strong and committed sales staff with many, many years of satisfying customer needs. They're the premier dealer for commercial vehicles for all of your small business needs. Make the short drive to Caldwell and experience a car buying experience like never before. We're talking 15 minutes, the edge of Bryan to the beginnings of Caldwell. Short conversation away, but you'll see the difference when you step on the lot and do business with the great people at Caldwell Country Chevrolet. Highway 21 in Caldwell, online, caldwellcountrychevrolet.com. TexAgs Live presented by David Gardner's Jewelers Rollo Insurance Studio. So we're going to do this. We're going to hit a break early so we can go long on the next segment. And we'll go long by going long on TexAgs.com and on the YouTube channel. If you're listening to The Zone, you can join us or you can listen to Louie right after, however you want to handle it. But we're going to hit a break here so we can kind of catch up on the breaks. We'll be back. It's TexAgs. And we're back on TexAgs Live. Last couple of minutes of the program. We'll go a little long on YouTube and on TexAgs.com.
It's AI.
Oh, it's not real? Did you know that from the beginning? Yeah.
Yes, it's a giant tick the size of a polar bear attached to a
I
bow.
thought it was something else.
If those things existed.
I thought it was something they only have in Antarctica. That's what I thought.
Well, listen, it's possible, but you never know. But no, that was you got to start having a good eye for AI, like the motions and because they're going to try to trick you with a lot of stuff more than ever now.
Hey, I'm going to send a text real quick, but I'm going to ask you a question.
Okay.
Football-wise, there was I don't know if you saw the Heather Dinich report that said that she expects 2026 to be 14-team playoff. So just your thoughts on that, and maybe even a play-in game for the third and fourth team in the SEC or Big Ten to get into the playoff, as opposed to just the top four. She's saying she's hearing rumblings about that.
I can't keep up with Heather Dinich and Ross Dellinger anymore.
I know, right?
I simply cannot. I just got a text just now. Another lawsuit, another one in the NCAA 5-year rule. Corey Coley from NC State is suing because he got injured on the 6th game of last season, making that his 4th year, and now he's done. I mean, the whole thing, you just can't keep up anymore with eligibility, playoffs, NIL legislation. It is absolutely taking the fun out of following this stuff. Thank God for Ross and Heather for being the two people that are trying, particularly Dellinger with the way he follows every bit of this NIL landscape and the NCAA stuff. It is literally, I used to say this during COVID, it was like created this cottage industry of people that wanted, but the cottage industry is folded because you have to be really good to keep up with this day to day. And Ross does a great job of it with Heather saying, I just say stop the nonsense and just go to 16 already and just stop it. Instead of the 64 like March Madness, and I know they've grown that out past 64, but instead of a 64-team tournament, just do a damn 16-team tournament like the baseball super region.
Yep.
No, not even. Just 16 teams, single elimination tournament. Just start it like the NCAA and the Sweet 16. And go from there. I mean, it just stop this slow, awkward dance to get there and just go there as soon as possible. And then cut it the frig off right there. Stop it at 16. It's already too many, in my opinion. I mean, I think 12 is too many. But what do I know? I mean, God forbid you should keep it at 8 and make it something that like you have to really truly earn your way into. And God forbid you should have a competent committee to select those 8 teams and have the balls to leave somebody out from a crappy conference because they're not any good. And they're clearly the one-loss team from this no-name or crap conference is not as good as the 2 or even 3-loss team from this conference. You're on a committee. It's not your full-time job. It's not the end of the world. Have the stones to make a tough decision. Should have stopped at 8. It's at 12. It's a stupid number for a tournament. If you're going to do 12, then by God, just seed them 1 through 12 so the lesser teams don't get a bye and an advantage because they play in an inferior conference. Don't reward them for that. Don't feel bad for them for that. They don't have enough money. Their fan support sucks. They weren't savvy enough to get out in front of conference realignment. That's your own fault. So if the price you pay is that you still have an automatic bid, then don't cry about not getting the bye because your team's not as good as the teams in the bigger, stronger conferences. So 14 is a stupid number, and play-in is dumb. Go to 16 and just shut it down and have them pick the 16 best teams and pick people on a committee that are actually competent. Not like Warday Manuel, not like Warday, whatever his name is, to sit up there and not even be able to answer freaking questions when asked without just absolutely dancing around it and not giving competent answers. Get it right. You've got nothing else right. Get the playoff right. It's not hard. It's not hard at all. Jesus. I can't take it. Like this every day there's something new that you tell me about that like it's just
asinine.
It's insane. And the fact that these people think this is like a tenable trajectory that they're on is people should be so very gravely concerned in college athletics. People like Trev Alberts, people like Mike Elko, people like Mike Earley, Buzz Williams, head coaches, athletic directors around the league, they should be so gravely concerned, and every one of them is, for their own sport. You got to sit here and think about what's changing with this NIL, with the scholarship numbers, and you think about the different issues raging through the heads of Mike Elko versus Mike Earley versus Jamie Morrison versus Trisha Ford versus Buzz Williams. Like it's crazy how just all over the place this is right now on every level. Playoff, NIL, conferences, NCAA legislation, enforcement, scholarship numbers. The future of it is as bleak as it's ever been.
And
they have screwed up college athletics to the point that I just don't know how you fix it.
And the other thing that I was going to bring up is
all of that because of 14-team playoff.
A couple of miles down the road, a team is losing some coaches to Shard Choice to the Lions, and then it looks like Terry Joseph is leaving as well.
Thank you, Dan Campbell, for getting a great running backs coach out of Austin. But Terry Joseph, I'm a big fan of Terry Joseph. And again, this was a guy that I thought was pretty well buried by fans here and went on to, I don't know everywhere he'd been since, I think North Carolina, but ended up at Notre Dame, then in Austin. He did a really good, he coached a Thorpe Award winner this year. And before anybody tries to take anything away from him, because this is what they'll probably do in Austin, Jahdae Barron was not a blue chip recruit. Actually, that was a guy Mike Elko really liked. I don't think Jimbo was, let him use that scholarship. I think they were holding it for someone at a different position at the time. But that was a guy Elko really wanted to flip, I think from Baylor, and Texas did flip him. But that was a guy that developed under Terry Joseph into the Thorpe Award winner. And he's not going to be a first-round draft pick or anything. So TJ did a great job there in Austin, and now they've lost both secondary coaches, in Joseph and Gideon. And the Texas fans are trying to, spin it and convince themselves, just like these. There's a lot of morons, by the way. Tell me, all right, we're over. Good, I can keep talking. There's a lot of morons on Texas Twitter that revealed themselves this weekend when A&M lost to Cal Poly. Part of it's shtick. Part of it's just, celebrating.
The rivalry stuff.
Yeah, celebrating, A&M suffering a loss to a mid, whatever you want to call it, mid-major or whatever you call these things now. It's just wild the amount of we're off air. Wild the amount of shit they talk when I think it was last year they're losing to teams like Rio Grande Valley, getting humiliated right and left by these out of conference teams, and they were 0 for the world against the SEC last year. Oh, by the way, and last I checked, lost twice to A&M, once at home and once in a regional. 2 years before A&M ended their season. And this is an A&M team that, as I checked today, is still ranked number 1 versus I think they're 15. And it's an A&M team that a year ago played for a national title, which I know Texas's history is much. A&M will never touch their history in baseball. They just won't. Their top probably 3 program of all time. A&M last year went further than Texas has in like 15 or 16 years on the diamond. And to laugh that much about a loss to Cal Poly, if you're not just trolling and having fun, you don't understand college baseball. And I'm saying this as someone that's watched the 2 weeks and go, they're not playing like a number 1 team. They're going to have to play better. The goal here is Omaha, right? That is the starting goal for this program. It should be that way every year. They're going to have to play a lot better than they have in the first 2 weeks. We've also watched enough baseball to know, oh, damn. Did I see that right? Did A&M lose an entire series to Penn and go to Omaha and reach the Final Four in Slosh's first year? Because I thought that, I'm pretty sure that happened.
Like the second series of the
year. With that said, these Texas people like that are going to downplay and say, well, we're losing coaches to the NFL. Let me caution you. You can justify it. You can pump up Sark and where the program's at, and the health of the program and things, all you want, by saying it's to the NFL. That neglects that you lost Blake Gideon to Georgia Tech. I know it was an upgrade move. The fact of the matter is your 10-person coaching staff has now lost 30% of it. And I think 2 of those guys did a hell of a job in the secondary and a hell of a job on the recruiting trail. And the third one was, as you guys told us for the last few years, the best position coach at his spot in the country in Shard Choice. So there's some real attrition there. It makes me, to a degree, wonder why. if I was a Texas fan, I wouldn't worry much though until like if I saw Jeff Banks, Kelvin Flood, or PK leave there. Those are the guys that would make me kind of scratch my head and go, is there something there culturally that we don't know about? Because it sure doesn't seem like it with the level that they're winning at, back-to-back playoffs. They're going to be ranked no worse than top 3 entering this year, a ton of momentum. So, if one of those 3 guys were to leave, that's when if I was a Texas fan, I'd be concerned because I think those are kind of Sark's core group.
Yep.
Those 3 in particular. So anyway, it is something to keep an eye on. It is relevant to A&M because that is a team that you're recruiting against today. Like every single day you're recruiting against those guys. And obviously now you're playing against them every year too. But you like to see turnover in your rivals. I don't care if it's for them moving up. You know, it's not lateral moves, but they're moving up the chain. Or if it's NFL, I don't care the reason why. You like to see your rivals see staff attrition when they're winning.
Yeah.
When they're losing, you don't like to see it. You like to see them keep status quo.
Yep, exactly right.
But no, I do think that's certainly interesting that a third coach has left, and I think 3 very good coaches actually in those guys.
Mm-hmm.
So, and you can replace them. I say that all the time, and it applies to Texas as well. It's always a chance to upgrade. Although I think guys like Tashard Choice would be very tough to upgrade. I think the job Kwiatkowski's done the last couple of years, and I think the job that for A&M, like I would not right now watching this first year under Mike Elko, like I would not want to see them lose Adam Cushing. The job he did on that O-line, he was to me by far the most impressive guy out there. Like, gosh, like that dude, the job he did with that group from last year to this year and what you think's coming ahead. So it was the same deal with Mike Elko when he was the D coordinator here. You know, fans were worried after 1 year, like, oh my God, they were fortunate to keep him for 4 years here. So it's not easy to keep coaches when you're winning, but you damn sure better replace them with good ones.
Anything else?
Well, I mean, there's a lot else. I mean, this is a big basketball week. I think that Vandy game, it's not, look, none of them are must wins, and all of them are must wins. Does that make sense? Like,
yeah. I mean,
you don't need a 3-game losing streak in conference going on the road to Florida. You don't have to go into the postseason with momentum because you could gain it right back in Nashville, or you could just get a draw. They could lose out and go
to Sweet 16, Elite 8.
If I don't think they'll lose out, but if they did, they'd probably fall all the way to like a 6 seed, and they could beat an 11 and then a 3.
Yeah.
I mean, we saw what they do against a potential 1 just the last time out. So every game matters big, but it doesn't. But man, this one feels really big to me because you don't want to ride a 3-game losing streak into Florida. But is it a must win? No, because they really could lose to Vandy and beat Florida. They could beat Auburn at home.
Yep.
They can. Like, I know people are going, you didn't watch this game carefully enough if you think that team can't beat Auburn at home. You haven't followed, like, I think Florida should be favored, and if you made me bet, like, hey, here's your money, bet on it. Yeah, I'm going with the home team that at their gym can flat out shoot the lights out, right?
Right.
But you don't know how they're going to respond to A&M's defense mucking it up down there. And if Wade's going to find a stroke against the floor, you haven't watched Buzz basketball the last 6 years. I had someone tell me this yesterday, again, the same type thing. They said, well, Buzz doesn't beat the good teams. He can't beat the elite teams. And I'm going, what are we talking about? Like, he's had some decent success against Rick Barnes in Tennessee.
Yep.
I know they're not and someone will say, well, they've never been to a Final Four. Tennessee's been one of the top 3 teams in this conference for the last few years. and A&M's got wins over them. They have that big win over Bama a couple years ago here. They've beaten Auburn under Bruce Pearl multiple times. They've beaten Kentucky with Cal multiple times. I think they beat Arkansas 3 times in a year that Arkansas went to the Elite Eight under Musselman. Like, they get some nice wins. I mean, this year, who'd they beat? Texas Tech, really good program, probably a 3 seed. Purdue played for the national title last year. To say these things, it's false. It's not true. And Chris Beard, he's the greatest. Buzz 3-1 against Chris Beard. He's won his last 3. So the whole thing to me, it's just everybody's down and bummed out. They needed to beat Vandy, feel better about your chances going into Florida, and win or lose before you can even react to that. You're hosting number 1 at Reed Arena a week from tomorrow. So do they need to shoot better? Sure.
Yes, they do.
Am I worried about their outside shooting? Yes. Am I worried about how A&M's played the first 2 weeks of baseball defensively? Yes. Do I want to see them start hitting better and finding it? Yes. Do I think they will? Yes. First of all, just simply adding Caden Sorrell into that lineup changes a lot. It's not just like you put Caden Sorrell and whatever his numbers are in there. There's a domino effect from just plopping him in the lineup.
100%.
Who he's hitting before, who he's hitting after. It changes a lot. How the pitcher has to attack that lineup, the mental stress it puts on a pitcher to go through that thing 3-4 times in a game. So, yeah, I mean, it was not a good weekend.
Yep.
The Aggies, by the way, didn't lose that series to Cal Poly. I don't care that they lost that game to them. I do care, but like in baseball, you can't.
They won the series.
You can't worry too much, and they won the series. Did they lose a game to Seattle at one point? I forget it was Seattle or Port. Somebody that same year they lost to Penn. They lost. My thing is just I'd like to see them playing better early in the season. It doesn't mean it has to carry on, but if you gave me the choice, I don't mind the 5-1 through 6 games. I would have liked it to be, hey, okay, they blew a ninth. They ran into a pitcher that had them figured out, and they blew a 9th inning lead of 2 runs. And you looked up, and you went 1, 2, 3, and the game was over. You know what happened. But, damn, they're playing good baseball otherwise. And that would be my preference. Yep. It's not the lost game. It's that they could have lost all 3 to Poly. All 3 were in doubt, especially 2 of the 3. And then Elon, 2 of the 3 were a struggle. So they got to play better. It's early. Basketball, to me, I just think, look, I wish they could shoot better from beyond the arc. I wish they had more options out there. I wish they had a designated assassin from out there. I heard you guys this morning. Sometimes the offensive guys don't play as much defense. Yeah, my big mystery this year, that at this time a year ago, Manny was emerging as the way he finished last year. And you remember him against Nebraska?
Yeah.
Remember him against Ole Miss and Oxford? You remember him against Kentucky? And I think Florida, maybe not Florida, but I think so, like in the SEC tournament. To go into this year, this offseason, everything I thought I knew about this basketball team, and I didn't know about Phelps. I certainly didn't know about Pharrell Payne. You started to get the early returns on Payne when he got here. But what I thought I knew was that Manny had turned a corner. Yep. And if he would have been that player, I think, gosh, where is this team at? But it hasn't happened. And that, it's tough. He's one of my favorite athletes in Maroon White. So hopefully he can find something. But it seems like his leash has gotten shorter, along with some of these other guys as the season, every one of these games now feels like a tournament game. It does. And Vandy's going to feel like that because they're a tournament team. And I know all 18 games count the same. But if you couldn't tell that Mississippi State was playing at a different level, not just against A&M, but against Ole Miss. And by the way, they went and got their asses kicked by OU. who's also desperate.
Right.
You can tell, and A&M was desperate on Saturday. They played with real desperation. Tennessee came in here and said, we got to bring our A-plus game to beat these guys, and they brought it. That's why I said it felt like a tournament game. Both teams were really dialed in terms of how they played, not how A&M shot, how they played basketball. It was an intense game from the opening tip till the very end. They feel like they matter more right now.
Mm-hmm.
Vandy's 1 of 18. It feels like it matters more. So you want the home crowd, get out there early. You know, there was a great crowd there Saturday. I know they tend to lag a little bit on Tuesdays. I know Vandy's not carrying a single-digit ranking by their name, but they're a freaking tournament team, and it's a game that the Aggies need to win. If you're a fan of A&M basketball, get your ass in a seat at Reed Arena. If you're in Houston, you can drive up. Come on, there's no winter weather. Dallas, Austin, whatever.
Come down,
and this team still has a lot to play for. And I think despite the loss on Saturday, they showed how good they are on Saturday against a Tennessee team that might be a 1 seed. Look, Tennessee and Bama, both of those games, you know, at Tennessee, Bama, it was free throws without Wade, and you still could have won without Wade Taylor with free throws. And then Tennessee, it was the three-point line that got you. But, man, they're right there against two teams that are probably – I don't know if they can both be a 1 seed because one of them might knock the other one out of a 1 seed, but they're both in contention to be a 1 seed in the NCAA tournament. And A&M's right there, just like they were against U of H last year in the thing. It's just going to take a little bit more for them to get there. And hopefully they can break through against Florida or Auburn.
Thank you, Billy.
All right.